Chapter 1765. A terrifying divine soul attack instantly erupted from the cloud sea boundary steel. Even though Qianyang's cultivation had reached the peak of the late stage of the god realm, he could not react in time. The divine soul attack hit him right between his eyebrows. Boom! In an instant, a terrifying storm of divine soul power swept across the land within hundreds of miles around Qianyang. Even space was torn apart by this tyrannical divine soul attack. Inside the bottle of true flames of destruction in Qianyang's hand, demon monarch Cloud Sea trembled. He revealed a look of excitement. Ha! I knew that a treasure like the Cloud Sea boundary marker would never fall into the hands of a human from the divine realm. Just the anger of the Cloud Sea boundary marker is enough to flatten everything, let alone the undying prince. Demon monarch Cloud Sea laughed maniacally. At this moment, the bottle of true flames of destruction in Qianyang's hand could not be maintained any longer. Because of the sudden divine soul attack from the Cloud Sea boundary marker, Qianyang had to withdraw all of his divine soul power in an instant, just to block this attack. Therefore, without divine soul power to maintain the true flames of destruction, Demon Monarch Cloud Sea only needed to use a little demonic chi to collide with the bottle. It was enough to break the bottle of true flames of destruction. However, Demon Monarch Cloud Sea was not in a hurry to escape. The Cloud Sea boundary marker was an immemorial treasure that even a demon monarch of his level could not break. Since the undying prince had provoked the wrath of the Cloud Sea boundary marker, it was impossible for him to survive. Even if he was lucky enough to survive, it was impossible for him to be unharmed. Demon Monarch Cloud Sea knew that if this person from the divine realm could survive, even if his demonic soul escaped, he might not be able to completely escape from Qianyang's grasp. Therefore, Demon Monarch Cloud Sea had a bold idea. While Qianyang's divine soul was attacked by the Cloud Sea boundary marker and his defense was at its weakest, he made his move. Take over Qianyang's body. Boom! The same loud sound also appeared in Qianyang's soul sea. The Cloud Sea boundary steel was indeed an immemorial treasure of the demon realm. This soul attack was extremely penetrative and easily penetrated the soul defense Qianyang had instantly condensed. It went straight into Qianyang's soul sea. However, at this moment, the tip of the Tsang Emperor's sword, which had been resting peacefully in Qianyang's soul ocean, suddenly moved. When Qianyang had fought the undying prince, he had been able to defeat the undying prince because he had comprehended the primal chaos divine dominion. Hence, the Tsang Emperor's sword had not been able to attack. Later on, even if the Tsang Emperor's sword appeared, it would not be able to withstand the attacks of ultimate gods. Therefore, the tip of the Tsang Emperor's sword had not been used for many years. But now, someone actually dared to invade Qianyang's soul sea. Boom! Rays of dazzling golden light burst out from the tip of the Tsang Emperor's sword. In the next moment, the tip of the Emperor's sword directly pierced through the spiritual impact released by the Cloud Sea boundary stone. Seeing this, Qianyang heaved a sigh of relief. He hadn't forgotten that there was still a huge flaw in his spirit sea. It was the ultimate god power left behind by the undying emperor. If the spiritual impact touched the ultimate god power, Qianyang would be in danger even if his spiritual impact was not ordinary. However, the moment the tip of the Tsang Emperor's sword pierced through the spiritual impact, in the outside world, on the pitch-black Cloud Sea boundary stone, in an instant, rays of extremely dark black light burst out. Boom! The black light seemed to have materialized and violently bombarded the space between Qianyang's eyebrows. What? Seeing this, Demon King Yunhai, who was waiting outside to possess Qianyang, was shocked. The Cloud Sea boundary stone actually had a second attack. When he had first discovered the existence of this treasure, there had been no such phenomenon. In his soul sea, Qianyang was also shocked. The demonic light that had been pierced through by the tip of the Tsang Emperor's sword and was about to be completely destroyed suddenly exploded again. At this moment, even the Tsang Emperor's sword could not extinguish it instantly. Rays of demonic power were released from it. However, Tianyong did not wait for death. He snorted coldly, and rays of true flames of destruction ignited in his soul sea. At the same time, it merged with the undying divine fire and released an extremely powerful and terrifying force. In an instant, this force collided with the demonic light. Then there was a loud bang. In an instant, an extremely majestic demonic aura exploded in Tianyong's soul sea and swept in all directions. Seeing this, Tianyong's face suddenly changed. If he was in his peak state, after being weakened by the Tsang Emperor Sword and the true flames of destruction and the undying divine fire, Tianyong would not have cared at all. He could even let the Tianshao sword directly devour the demonic aura. However, there was a huge crack in Tianyong's soul sea now. If the demonic aura invaded the crack and merged with the master of the undying Empire's supreme god power, it would cause a chain reaction. Even Tianyong did not know what would happen. However, one thing was for sure. It was definitely not something good. Boom. However, at this moment, the tip of the Tsang Emperor sword moved again. The supreme sword principal aura exploded from the Tsang Emperor sword. In an instant, it broke through the demonic aura's seal on the Tsang Emperor sword. Then, it swept through Tianyong's soul sea like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. All the demonic aura disappeared. This is the power of the Tsang Emperor sword. Seeing this, Tianyong's pupils shrank. He was extremely shocked. When he first attacked, he almost destroyed the first spiritual attack of the boundary stone of the Cloud Sea. When the boundary stone of the Cloud Sea attacked again, he attacked again. This time, it was even more powerful. The sword light was vast and mighty. In an instant, it shattered all the demonic aura. How did it get into the heavenly sword? At this moment, Tianyong also noticed that after the demonic aura was shattered by the Tsang Emperor's sword, it did not turn into nothingness. Instead, it flowed into the sky cloud sword through some unknown means. Originally, Tianyong felt that it was a pity that such a powerful demonic aura was wasted. Now, he no longer had such thoughts. However, the secret of the Cloud Sea boundary stone is not small. After the heavenly sword absorbed all the demonic aura, Tianyong's expression changed slightly. This was because after the Tsang Emperor sword's tip had shattered the demonic aura of the Cloud Sea boundary stone twice in a row, although it did not suffer any damage, its light had dimmed significantly. If an ordinary demonic aura attacked, the Tsang Emperor sword would not even budge. This time, when the demonic aura invaded, the Tsang Emperor sword acted. Tianyong couldn't help but feel suspicious. At this moment, crack, boom, in front of Tianyong, the protective array around the Cloud Sea boundary stone suddenly collapsed. Chapter 1766. Tianyong was shocked when he saw the protective array suddenly shatter. He had only withstood 2 waves of attacks from the boundary marker. How did the protective array shatter on its own? Then, Tianyong's consciousness left the Sea of Soul and returned to his physical body. At this moment, Demon Monarch Cloud Sea gritted his teeth and prepared to possess Tianyong immediately. Tianyong's body was extremely strong. It might even be stronger than Demon Monarch Cloud Sea's original body. If he could successfully possess Tianyong, Demon Monarch Cloud Sea's stagnant cultivation might even reach a higher level. However, at this moment, Tianyong's eyes suddenly lit up. Demon Monarch Cloud Sea, who was about to break through the bottle of true flames of destruction to possess Tianyong, was so frightened that he immediately retreated. "You're actually alive!" Demon Monarch Cloud Sea exclaimed in shock. This heavenly son had been in this state for several hours without waking up. Demon Monarch Cloud Sea was almost certain that Tianyong's soul had been shattered by the boundary marker's 2 waves of attacks. In the end, he was just about to make a move, and this guy came back to life. Why'd I die? Tianyong was naturally able to tell what Demon King Yunhai was thinking when he saw the horrified expression on the latter's face. He smiled and said, he never thought that Demon Monarch Cloud Sea would obediently obey him after being instantly killed by him. According to Demon Monarch Cloud Sea's thoughts, he should have been dead for sure after being attacked by the boundary marker's two waves of soul. Now, he either hadn't made a move yet or had just made a move. It was impossible for him to obediently stay in the bottle of true flames of destruction. Demon Monarch Cloud sees weak demonic soul suddenly trembled. He didn't have a trace of demonic energy left. In front of Tianyang, he had no power to fight back. It could be said that with a thought from Tianyang, his soul would scatter and he would be deader than dead. How long has it been? Tianyang's gaze never left the cloud's sea boundary stone, which was now completely exposed to the air without the protection of the array, as he asked. 6 hours. Demon Monarch Cloud Sea said. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. 6 hours? In Tianyang's impression, it had only been a few minutes since the Tsang Emperor's sword had attacked for the first time and completely destroyed the demonic energy for the second time. It had already been 6 hours? It seems that the cloud sea boundary steel is extraordinary. Tianyang pondered for a moment and muttered to himself. Then, he circulated his divine energy and transformed it into an invisible giant hand that grabbed the cloud sea boundary steel. Bang! As soon as the giant hand touched the cloud sea boundary steel, demonic energy erupted from the surface of the cloud sea boundary steel and corroded Tianyang's giant hand. In fact, the demonic chi was rapidly spreading toward the heavenly sun body through the giant divine power hand. Seeing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows and immediately dispersed the giant hand. The ball of demonic energy had lost its carrier. Even so, it still gathered in midair and charged toward Tianyang. However, this ball of demonic energy was completely different from the previous attack on the godly spirit. Tianyang waved his hand and destroyed the ball of demonic energy. However, he had some guesses in his mind. The cloud sea boundary marker seems to automatically attack when it encounters divine energy. Then, what about the chaotic energy? Then, Tianyang attacked again and unleashed the chaotic divine law. The giant hand that was completely condensed from the chaotic force reached out again. Don't even think about it. The cloud sea boundary marker is the treasure of my tribe. How could it fall into the hands of someone from the realm of the gods? Demon Monarch Cloud Sea could not help but mock him. After failing once or twice, he still dared to touch the cloud sea boundary marker for the third time. Was he not afraid that the primordial demonic energy in the cloud sea boundary marker would explode and kill him? However, this time, the giant hand formed by the chaotic energy touched the cloud sea boundary marker again. The cloud sea boundary marker did not release any demonic energy. Instead, it was like a huge rock that was extremely quiet. Furthermore, the demonic energy that was released from the cloud sea boundary marker from time to time retreated the moment it came into contact with the chaotic energy. It was as if it was facing an existence that was far more powerful than itself. As expected, seeing this, Tianyang smiled slightly. In his impression, the chaotic energy seemed to be of a higher level than divine energy. Against divine energy, there was a natural suppressive force. However, under normal circumstances, this suppressive force was not considered strong because Tianyang's divine energy was neutralized by Tianyang's divine energy. It was not of much help to Tianyang in battle. However, against the cloud sea boundary marker, this suppressive force showed how powerful it was. The cloud sea boundary marker was suppressed to the point that it could not even release demonic energy. How could it attack? Then, Tianyang exerted a little force, and the chaotic energy lifted the cloud sea boundary marker easily. Unlike the cloud sea boundary marker that looked like stone and metal, it looked extremely heavy. When Tianyang lifted it, he realized that the cloud sea boundary marker was extremely light. It was as if it did not have a physical body and was purely formed by the demonic energy. You, a person from the realm of the gods, actually lifted the cloud sea boundary marker? Seeing Tianyang lift the cloud sea boundary marker in front of him so easily, Demon King Yunhai's expression suddenly looked as if he had seen a ghost. He did not have complete confidence in his attempt this time. After all, the cloud sea boundary marker was an immemorial secret treasure. Even Demon King Yunhai, a demon expert, could not do it. How could Tianyang, a mere deity from the realm of the gods, take it away? Now, not only did he take it away, it seemed like he was going to pack it up and take it away. How did you do it? Demon King Yunhai was shocked. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled slightly. Now, tell me, what is this Cloud Sea boundary marker? Immemorial secret treasures were not cabbages that could be found by the roadside. Even if the Cloud Sea sect was in the central Devil Land, it was not enough to be a reason. The Cloud Sea boundary steel was definitely a crucial item. Otherwise, it would not be possible to leave a protective formation that could be used since the immemorial era. Demon King Yunhai wanted to be tough at first, but in the end, under the threat of Tianyang's destruction true flames, he had no choice but to speak. And the details of the Cloud Sea boundary marker were completely revealed by Demon King Yunhai. The Cloud Sea boundary marker, Cloud Sea, was created by Demon King Yunhai. It did not have much meaning, but the two words boundary marker had a special meaning. In the immemorial era, the power of the demon clan was far from expanding to the point where they could monopolize an entire great world that was comparable to the realm of the gods. The Central Devil Land was far from that size. The Cloud Sea boundary marker marked the boundary of the Central Devil Land. In times of crisis, it would become a fragment of an ultimate god treasure that protected the Central Devil Land. If this ultimate god treasure was collected, even a mortal would be able to erupt with ultimate god strength. Now, although it was a fragment, it was still closely related to the most mysterious secret territory of the demon realm, the heavenly demon pillar. I see. Tianyang nodded and threw the Cloud Sea boundary marker into the chaotic small world. At this time, just as Tianyang was about to leave the holy land of the Cloud Sea sect, 3 angry roars suddenly came from the horizon. Who dares to kill my brother? Demon King Yunhai. In a chapter 1767. Who dares to kill my brother? Demon King Cloud Sea. 3 equally loud roars came from afar. In the next moment, 3 Demon King auras that were stronger than Demon King Cloud Seas came crashing down on Tianyang. Ha ha! You didn't expect this, did you? I called my brothers over during those 6 hours. At this moment, Demon King Cloud Sea, who was imprisoned by Tianyang in the bottle of true flames of destruction, laughed maniacally when he heard the 3 roars. It's not surprising that you can kill me alone. After all, I'm the weakest among the 5 of us. But this time, Big Brother, Second Brother, and Fourth Brother are here. I thought only Big Brother and Fourth Brother would come. Who knew that Second Brother would come too? Demon King Cloud Sea laughed out loud. At this moment, 3 demon lights flashed in front of Tianyang. Then, 3 figures appeared in front of Tianyang. Big Brother, Demon King Tao Tai. Second Brother, Demon King Bichuan. Fourth Brother, Demon King Luoyan. You're at most at Second Brother's level. Now that the 3 of us are attacking together, you're dead for sure. Demon King Cloud Sea laughed out loud. Tianyang frowned slightly when he heard that. He could sense that the 3 people in front of him were similar to the 3 monarchs of the Undying Emperor Hall who had attacked him back then. The strongest Demon King Tao Tai seemed to be even stronger than Emperor Raging Tiger. You're the one who killed my 5th brother? The leader was dressed in a long black robe. His face was grave and stern as he looked at Heavenly Sunday. The 5 demon kings had dominated the central demonic land for tens of millions of years. No one had dared to provoke them. If they were to join forces, they might even become one of the strongest forces in the central demonic land. However, even if they didn't join forces, they were still a force to be reckoned with in the central demonic land. Today, a guy who came out of nowhere actually killed Demon King Cloud Sea's physical body. He was courting death. If it weren't for the fact that Third Brother was exploring the mystic realm, he would have killed you instantly. On the other side, a man who was burning with dark red flames said, he must be Demon King Luoyan. As for the one in the middle, it should be the Bichuan Devil King. Looking at Tianyang's young face, Demon Monarch Bichuan, whose face was covered by a black mask, suddenly let out a strange cackle. I heard from Yunhai that this guy is the undying prince of the divine world's undying emperor court, the strongest genius in the god realm. If I can kill him, not only will I get the treasures on him, but the rewards from the Devil Nation and the Devil Earth will also be great. Demon King Bichuan's voice was extremely sharp. Just listening to it was as if it was going to pierce through one's ears. It was unbearable. Even Tianyang could not help but frown. An ant from the god realm who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you really think that the devil realm is the same as the weak god realm? You dare to attack fifth brother with your meager strength? On the other side, demon monarch Luoyin said arrogantly, "You haven't even heard of us, the 5 demon monarchs of the central demon lands, yet you dare to attack fifth brother? You're courting death." In the next moment, the dark red flames on demon Lord Luoyin's body exploded to the extreme, as if it could boil the endless demonic energy around it. His aura also rose to the peak. Seeing this, Tianyang frowned. Even though his cultivation had reached the peak of the late stage of the divine realm, Tianyang dared not say that he had a 100% chance of winning against 3 demon monarchs alone. Then, there was only one option left. Tianyang's lips curled up slightly. Boom! In a flash, Tianyang appeared in front of demon monarch Luoyin, whose aura was the weakest, and punched out. War of the Emperors. Surging chaotic divine power burst out, and behind Tianyang, the shadow of the firmament war emperor appeared. The emperor technique, which contained endless fighting spirit, was blasted out and directly bombarded demon monarch Luoyin's face. Bang! Demon monarch Luoyin obviously did not expect Tianyang to attack so suddenly. He did not even have time to defend himself, and was sent flying by the punch. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and even the dark red flames on his body were extinguished. His aura instantly fell to the bottom of the valley. Tianyang chased after him in a flash, aimed at demon monarch Luoyin's chest, and punched again. Boom! Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, and demon monarch Luoyin's chest was directly punched through. Even if he did not die, he would no longer have the ability to fight. Next, Tianyang retracted his hand and chuckled. What? How dare you? Seeing this, demon monarch Tao Tai and demon monarch Bichuan's expressions changed drastically, and they looked at demon monarch Luoyin in disbelief. Their faces were filled with disbelief. One person, facing 3 demon monarchs, dare to be the first to attack? You're courting death. Demon monarch Tao Tai was instantly enraged. In a flash, he appeared in front of Tianyang. Demon devours the heavens and earth. Streaks of demonic aura, accompanied by the devouring power, burst out and gathered in demon monarch Tao Ye's palm. He slammed it down on Tianyang's head. With demon monarch Tao Ye's tyrannical speed and his devouring power, almost all of his enemies could be defeated in an instant. However, Tianyang seemed to have expected this, and his right fist punched upwards. You devour, I'll devour too. Suddenly, the devouring power of Heaven Cloud sword burst out and collided with demon monarch Tao Ye's palm. Boom, boom, boom. Demon monarch Tao Ye's devouring power was abnormally strong. Even Tianyang's extremely stable Tao foundation could not withstand the devouring power of demon monarch Tao Tai. Streaks of divine power were devoured by demon monarch Tao Tai. However, the devouring power of Heaven Cloud's sword was devouring demon monarch Tao Ye's demonic aura at an even faster speed. If Tianyang's divine power was being devoured at a trickle, then demon monarch Tao Ye's divine power was being devoured at a trickle. The devouring speed of demon monarch Tao Ye's demonic aura was like a raging sea. What kind of technique is this? Demon monarch Tao Ye's expression changed when he realized that his devouring power was not enough to devour this human from the divine world. He quickly retreated. However, Tianyang's body flashed, and he took a step forward. The Expanse secret skill was unleashed. When demon monarch Tao Tai took a step back, Tianyang took a step forward. The devouring power of Heaven Cloud's sword could devour from a distance. Even if the demonic aura being devoured by Tianyang was just a drop in the ocean compared to Demon Monarch Tao Yes. However, Demon Monarch Tao Dai was still extremely fearful when he was suppressed in his strongest aspect. Descent of the Jade Spring. At this moment, Demon Monarch Bichuan suddenly attacked. The attack that he had been accumulating power for a long time blasted down on Tianyang's head. The dark green demonic aura was like a physical entity. It carried an unparalleled aura as it crashed down on Tianyang. This was the second attack of Demon Monarch Tao Dai and Demon Monarch Bichuan's joint attack. If Demon Monarch Tao Dai could not be killed instantly, then Demon Monarch Bichuan's attack that he had been accumulating power from the beginning would be enough to complete the final attack. In the demonic realm, there were only a handful of people below the ultimate god level who could withstand this double attack. The monstrous demonic aura was like a waterfall suspended in the air. In an instant, it bombarded Tianyang's body. With an unstoppable force, it crashed down on him. End of chapter. Chapter 1768. Boom! An extremely terrifying demonic aura ruthlessly fell towards the heavenly sun. A ferocious smile appeared on Demon King Bichuan's face, which was hidden under the black mask. From afar, this move seemed to be an ordinary demonic aura attack. However, only those who faced it would know. The countless green demonic aura were actually countless sharp demonic aura blades. An inch before the attack reached the opponent, it would completely bloom and devour the enemy. Now, it was the moment when Demon King Bichuan's move succeeded. Boom! Countless demonic aura bloomed, and the countless tiny blades exploded. Each blade was as thin as a cicada's wing, but with the support of the Demon King level demonic aura, they were extremely hard. The combination of the two was naturally overbearing. Boom! 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 Not to mention how fast this move was after it was released. It was completed in less than a second and did not give Tianyang any time to react. This move did not only have one angle of attack like the first one. After blooming into countless demonic aura blades, it would attack Tianyang from all directions. This was the true mystery of Demon King Tao Tai and Demon King Bichuan's invincible double combo. This devouring power can actually devour demonic aura, and it's even stronger than mine. Because Tianyang had fallen under Demon King Bichuan's ultimate move, Tianshao's sword, which had been devouring Demon King Tao Tai, also stopped devouring, and Demon King Tao Tai was finally able to escape. However, there was still some fear on his face. This was different from what he had imagined. In this universe, there was actually a devouring power that surpassed his, except for the ultimate gods. I don't know if this cultivation method can be used by the Demon King. If it can, I'll be closer to the Emperor realm. Demon King Tao Tai was overwhelmed with emotions as he muttered to himself. The devouring demonic art that he cultivated was already considered as the most powerful cultivation method in the demon realm. However, even so, it was almost completely defeated by Tianyang in the collision of devouring power. Devouring power was Demon King Tao Ye's old profession. To think that their old profession would be crushed by a mere human right now. If it wasn't for the fact that Demon Lord Tao Tai was well aware of the power of Demon Lord Bichuan's attack, this human from the god realm wouldn't have been able to survive. Otherwise, Tao Tai Demon Lord would have wanted to capture Tianyang's soul and interrogate him. However, there should be some soul fragments left behind. Second brother, check if there are any remaining soul fragments. Tao Tai Demon Lord said. However, Demon King Bichuan frowned slightly. Strange, why can't I sense any soul ripples? Is this guy really so weak that all of his soul has turned into dust? And at this moment, boom, streams of berserk demonic energy surged out from the dark green demonic energy like a river in the sky. It was pitch black, pure, and incomparably domineering. Then a pitch black steel, which was only 10 meters long and wide, swelled up and exploded Demon King Bichuan's move. What? Demon King Bichuan and Tao Tai Demon Lord's pupils contracted at the sight of the cloud sea boundary steel that suddenly appeared. This is The Cloud Sea boundary steel that fifth brother mentioned, how could it be in the hands of a human from the god realm? The Cloud Sea boundary steel was extremely domineering. The demonic energy it released crushed all of Demon King Bichuan's demonic energy with absolute power. At this moment, Tianyang's figure flashed. Holding the Cloud Sea boundary steel that had swelled up beyond a normal steel, Tianyang didn't bother to release any divine power. He directly swung the Cloud Sea boundary steel at Demon King Bichuan. Damn it! Demon King Bichuan also knew the power of the Cloud Sea boundary steel from Demon King Yunhai's description. In the primordial era, the boundary of the Central Devil Land was marked as the last line of defense for the Central Devil Land. The fragment of an ultimate God supreme treasure. How could they possibly block such a treasure? Boom! However, Tianyang swung the Cloud Sea boundary steel at a terrifying speed that didn't match its size at all. Demon King Tao Tai was stronger and had already escaped the attack range of the Cloud Sea boundary steel. However, Demon King Bichuan wasn't so fast. The Cloud Sea boundary steel hit him directly in the face. Comparing the huge gap between the two, it should be said that Demon King Bichuan hit the Cloud Sea boundary steel. Boom! Just like how the chaotic energy had a suppressive effect on all energies below the chaotic energy level. The demonic chi on the Cloud Sea boundary steel had an unparalleled suppressive effect on Demon King Bichuan's demonic chi, in addition to Tianyang's extremely domineering physical strength. However, with this smash, it smashed Devil King Bichuan's body into minced meat that filled the air. What? Demon King Tao Ye's face changed drastically. A human from the god realm could actually use the demonic clan's ultimate god supreme treasure, the boundary steel, to such an extent? Were they from a demonic clan, or was he from the demonic clan? Second brother. At this moment, Demon King Luoyan, who was severely injured by Tianyang at the beginning, saw Demon King Bichuan killed in an instant and immediately cried out in grief. Ignoring his injuries, he immediately ignited his demonic energy and rushed toward Tianyang. Tianyang, on the other hand, swung the Cloud Sea boundary steel in his hand. Bang! Compared to Demon King Bichuan, it was even more ferocious. This time, Demon King Luoyan's own speed increased. With one hit, Demon King Luoyan was also smashed into meat paste. The Cloud Sea boundary steel is really powerful, Tianyang exclaimed as he looked at the two demon kings who were smashed into meat paste in midair. If he had attacked by himself, even if he had activated the sky-devouring secret skill, he wouldn't have been able to achieve such a powerful result in such a short time. However, the Cloud Sea boundary steel had a strong repulsion against divine power. If Tianyang wanted to activate it, he had to use the chaotic energy. However, with Tianyang's current cultivation, the amount of pure chaotic energy that he could condense was not much. These two attacks had basically used up all of Tianyang's chaotic energy. Whoosh! With a casual toss, Tianyang threw the Cloud Sea boundary steel into the void boundary of the chaotic small world by Tianyang. Then, he raised his head and looked at Demon King Tao Tai, who was trying his best to save the souls of Demon King Bichuan and Demon King Luoyan, and smiled. Including Cloud Sea Demon Monarch, for Demon Monarchs are here. Now, the Sky Cloud Sword will definitely be able to reach the mid-grade of the divine level, or even the upper grade. Boom! Tianyang stomped his feet and charged towards Demon King Tao Tai. You bastard! After using all his strength to save the souls of the two Demon Kings, Demon King Tao Tai was completely enraged. Sky-devouring demon god. The Tao Tai demon lord roared. His original cold human appearance disappeared in an instant. In its place, there were two horns on his head that twisted upwards. His black hair turned crimson red, and his entire body expanded several times. It was the demon god real form. Roar! Demon King Tao Tai roared. The demonic aura around him suddenly expanded several times. Sky-devouring demon world. In an instant, everything within 100,000 miles became Demon King Tao Ye's sky-devouring demon world. End of chapter. Chapter 1769. The top of his head was twisted, and his eyes were like black holes. His teeth had become ferocious tiger fangs. Your true form is not a heavenly demon or blood demon. Looking at the Taotai demon lord's true form, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. This was different from the heavenly demons and blood demons that he had seen. In fact, other than the fact that he maintained the body of a human, there was almost no resemblance at all. Heavenly demon? Blood demon? The Taotai demon lord curled his lips, revealing a ferocious and cruel smile. Those are just ordinary demons. I have half of the 4 primordial beasts, the Taotai bloodline. Devour the heavens and earth. Omnipotent. The Taotai demon lord roared, and his figure disappeared instantly. Around him, the demonic aura released by the Taotai demon lord also turned into miniature, devouring black holes. They wanted to devour Tianyang's body. God-vanquishing fist. The Taotai demon lord suddenly appeared above Tianyang's head, and his fist, which had expanded several times, smashed down on Tianyang's head. So the small world of the demon race does not nurture life. Tianyang muttered to himself. The cloud sea boundary marker that was put back suddenly appeared above Tianyang's head. Boom! The Taotai demon lord's heavy punch landed on the cloud sea boundary marker. The domineering demonic aura within the cloud sea boundary marker was forced out. Tianyang controlled it slightly, and it turned into a long spear that shot towards the Taotai demon lord. Do you only know how to use my clan's treasure to fight? The Taotai demon lord was furious that he had lost the initiative because of the cloud sea boundary marker. He punched out and shattered the demonic aura released by the cloud sea boundary marker. Then, of course not. Tianyang smiled and kept the cloud sea boundary marker. His figure disappeared mysteriously. The cloud sea boundary marker consumed too much energy, and the previous attack that he used to trick the Taotai demon lord was the last one. If he continued to use it, Tianyang's original strength would be drained by the cloud sea boundary marker before he could use much of it. Oomph. You actually dare to use movement techniques in my heaven-devouring demonic world? In the next moment, the demonic chi in the Taotai demon lord's hand condensed into a long saber. He slashed out toward a certain space, a saber glow that was unleashing a tremendous devouring force that seemed to be tearing the space around it apart, was slashed forward. You actually found me? Tianyang had no choice but to break away from the state of merging with space and slashed out with the great void sword embryo in his hand. Tianyang blocked the saber light, but he was also sent flying by the saber. You want to fight me after losing the cloud sea boundary steel? Taotai demon lord sneered. Then his figure flashed again. I will turn into a demonic shadow and break the universe. Taotai demon lord roared. Instantly, countless demonic shadows appeared in the darkness of the sky-devouring demonic world. At the same time, countless demonic shadows slashed out at the same time. Boom! Countless saber lights formed a net of saber lights, trapping Tianyang in it. At the same time, the Taotai demon lord shrunk the size of the heaven-devouring demonic world. Hence, the devouring power of the heaven-devouring demonic world increased exponentially. Boom! Tianyang's divine power was forcefully devoured by the heaven-devouring demonic world. The heavy saber net slammed onto Tianyang's body. At this moment, Tianyang tilted his head. Boom! Compared to the heaven-devouring demonic world, a chaotic small world with a radius of 200,000 miles instantly opened up. Boundless chaos replaced the heaven-devouring demonic world. Everything around it turned into chaos. You want to devour? Tianyang smashed the heavy saber net and laughed. Then I'll let you devour to your heart's content. In an instant, countless chaotic divine power surged toward the Taotai demon lord. It was like the raging waves of a raging sea, violently rushing forward. Even if Tianyang did not deliberately use the power of the world, the small world with a radius of 200,000 miles contained the power of the world. Even if he did not use it completely, it was enough to make it difficult for the Taotai demon lord to attack. You want me to devour? Those who dared to let me devour previously had all their divine power and power essence devoured by me and turned into a dried corpse. In the end, even their corpses turned into countless energies for me to devour and refine. The Taotai demon lord roared angrily, as if he had suffered a great humiliation. Now, you dare to let me devour? You're just a godly state, far from the imperial emperor realm. How dare you be so presumptuous? Now, I'll let you have a taste of my Taotai demon lord's heaven-devouring divine power. Boom! In an instant, a Taotai shadow appeared behind the Taotai demon lord. As the Taotai opened his mouth, the chaotic divine power around him was devoured by the Taotai shadow at an extremely fast speed. Immediately, the demonic chi that the Taotai demon lord had lost in the battle was completely restored. However, Tianyang's expression did not change as he watched the Taotai demon lord devour his chaotic divine power quietly. Ha ha ha! You didn't expect this, did you? The Taotai demon lord, who had recovered to his peak state, laughed maniacally. How vast do you think your divine power is? Back then, I devoured an entire macro world when I was at the peak of the middle stage of the godly state. The mountains, trees, birds, beasts, insects, fishes, and all the living beings turned into my demonic chi. No matter how big your micro world is, can it be bigger than an entire macro world? Now, I've completely controlled the surrounding heaven and earth. Even if you want to stop, it's impossible. Just wait until you turn into a dried corpse, and then the dried corpse will turn into energy and be devoured by me. The Taotai demon lord laughed maniacally, while Tianyang's expression did not change. Countless chaotic divine power continued to attack the black hole that the Taotai demon lord had formed. The Taotai demon lord's aura was getting stronger and stronger. It was even stronger than when he first appeared and before he even made a move. Why does this divine power feel a little special? Even if I devoured the divine power of other people in the divine world, the effect would not be as good. The Taotai demon lord frowned slightly. Back when he devoured an entire macro world, he only broke through from the middle stage of the godly state to the peak of the middle stage of the godly state. Although the increase was huge, although the Taotai demon lord did not break through to the next realm, the increase in his cultivation was much greater than when he devoured an entire macro world. However, even if the divine power was turned into spiritual energy, it was still far from half a macro world. At this moment, a smile appeared on Tianyang's calm face. The chaotic divine power in the chaotic micro world poured into the Taotai demon lord's body at an even faster speed. At this moment, the Taotai demon lord's expression finally changed. Previously, the Taotai demon lord controlled the devouring power. As long as the Taotai demon lord wanted to, he could stop it at any time. But unknowingly, the control had fallen into Tianyang's hands. Not good. Why can't I control my demonic chi? At this moment, the Taotai demon lord's expression changed drastically. He realized that the demonic chi that he devoured was completely out of his control. At this moment, Tianyang smiled and said, "Have you heard that pigs should be fattened before they are slaughtered?" The chaotic divine power rushed towards the Taotai demon lord. End of chapter. Chapter 1770. A pig needs to be fattened up before slaughtering. Tianyang smiled. The boundless chaotic divine power surged toward the Taotai demon lord at an even more ferocious speed. Oh no! The Taotai demon lord realized that he could not control the demonic chi in his body. His face changed, and he quickly dodged to the side. However, Tianyang's chaotic divine power was not an attack, but a gift for the Taotai demon lord. Moreover, the Taotai demon lord had opened up the devouring demon realm to the maximum in order to devour the chaotic divine power sent by Tianyang. Originally, it would take some time to retract it. Now that the demonic chi was out of control, it was impossible to retract it. The Taotai demon lord could only watch helplessly as the heavenly sun sent his chaotic divine power into the countless black holes above the heaven-devouring demonic world. In his body, There was another demonic chi that was out of his control. If only there were idiots like the Taodai demon lord around, Tianyong said with a sigh. The heavenly sword could not devour the chaotic divine power directly. It was as if it was programmed to only devour demonic chi. Tianyong's chaotic divine power was vast, and its recovery speed was not slow. If the heavenly sword could devour it, it would not take long for it to surpass the divine level. Unfortunately, it could not do so. Now, with the Taotai Demon Lord as a demonic chi transfer station, Tianyong would be overjoyed. As long as he fed the Taotai Demon Lord with the chaotic divine power, the demonic chi he obtained would be much more than just killing the Taotai Demon Lord. Although the Taotai Demon Lord had realized that something was wrong and wanted to escape, how could Tianyong let go of such a great opportunity to continue rearing pigs? He immediately took action and sealed the surrounding space. At the same time, the power of the world that had been hiding turned into a cage and strengthened the seal. Boom! The Taotai Demon Lord, who was about to escape, crashed into the seal of the power of the world. Damn it! The Taotai Demon Lord roared. Knowing that he could not escape, he could only stare at Tianyong with hatred and anger. Do you really want to fight to the death with me, the 5 demon monarchs of the central demon earth? The celestial realm is extremely far away from the demon realm. Even if you manage to kill the 4 of us, the remaining one will be able to sense our deaths. At that time, the 4 great devil nations, the central devil land, and countless other forces will become sharp blades that will hunt you down. Taotai Demon Lord threatened, but Tianyong picked his ears. I'm the Undying Prince. Why would I be afraid of this? Wait until my undead emperor's army arrives. Destroying your devil world is just a matter of flipping my hand, Tianyong said heroically. Hearing that, the Taotai Demon Lord was so angry that he laughed. I thought the Undying Prince was some kind of peerless genius, but it seems like he's just so. A single devil empire is already comparable to the Undying Imperial Court. A mere Undying Imperial Court wants to destroy the devil world? The next moment, boom! Endless demonic aura erupted from Taotai Demon Lord's body. However, this demonic chi was not released to attack. Instead, it was to block Tianyong's vision. Then, break! Taotai Demon Lord flashed to the edge of the spatial seal, and the 2 twisted horns on his head emitted layers of dark demonic light. That demonic light flowed down his arm and gathered on the long saber in his hand. He slashed out with the saber. The aura was enough to split the sea. Tianyong's spatial seal was also forcefully split open by this saber. Seeing this, Tianyong was stunned. Shouldn't the Taotai Demon Lord have devoured too much chaotic divine force and be unable to unleash his full strength? How did he suddenly become so strong? You destroyed all the demonic aura that you devoured? Tianyong instantly thought of the cause of the matter and looked at the enraged Taotai Demon Lord in astonishment. I, Taotai Demon Lord, will remember today's grudge. Taotai Demon Lord completely ignored Tianyong. Streams of demonic aura gathered, and in an instant, a crack in the spatial seal was torn open. He actually wanted to escape. In the future, I, the 5th Demon Lord, will take your head. Anyone from the Undying Imperial Court, I'll kill them all. Taotai Demon Lord roared. Tianyong was too lazy to be impressed by Taotai Demon Lord's boldness and directly attacked. The chaotic small world's world energy was released. Sorry, you can't run away. As for Taotai Demon Lord, he had successfully passed through the spatial crack. However, after passing through, he saw it was still the boundless chaos. Why don't you guess? Is your small world bigger or mine? Tianyong said with a smile. Countless sword shadows appeared around Tianyong. Taotai Demon Lord's pupils contracted. My small world has reached 130,000 miles. It's stronger than an ordinary Demon Lord. You're at most a peak late God realm. How can you have a small world that's bigger than mine? Taotai Demon Lord roared. Tianyong waved his hand. With a great void sword embryo as the lead, countless divine swords pierced through the void like a torrent of swords, and charged towards Taotai, demon lord. Ancestral innumerable swords. Tianyang snorted coldly, and the countless divine swords bombarded Taotai, demon lord's defense. Damn it! How can your world energy be stronger than mine? Taotai demon lord's long saber kept slashing out rays of saber light, and at the same time, he roared crazily. A peak late God realm expert's world energy was stronger than an emperor's? How could this be? Taotai demon lord could not accept this. The long saber in his hand slashed wildly, and with the advantage of the demonic chi, he blocked Tianyang's ancestral innumerable swords in the beginning, and even broke many divine swords. However, later on, the drawbacks of self-severing demonic chi were exposed. Taotai demon lord's self-severing demonic chi, and all the demonic chi transformed from the chaotic divine force were cut off. However, it was inevitable that his demonic chi origin would be damaged. This was also the reason why Taotai demon lord did not continue to fight after he escaped from the self-severing demonic chi, and instead ran away. However, Taotai demon lord did not expect Tianyang's world energy to be so strong. Even he could not break through. Damn it! Damn it! The saber light, slashed out by the long saber in his hand, became weaker and weaker. On the other hand, the attacks unleashed by the heavenly sun were still endless. In the end, the long saber formed by Taotai demon lord broke in the middle. Countless divine swords also pierced through Taotai demon lord's body at this moment. Demonic blood spurted out. Even if I die, you won't live well. Taotai demon lord's forehead was pierced by the great void sword embryo. However, Taotai demon lord still burned endless demonic blood in the end. Blood soul curse. In the next moment, the blood seal formed by Taotai demon lord's blood essence reached Tianyang in an instant. It ignored Tianyang's defense and imprinted on Tianyang's body. Next, the entire demonic world, the 4 demonic kingdoms, and the central demonic land will hunt you down endlessly. Soon, I will be able to see you in the netherworld. In the next moment, the last sword pierced through Taotai demon lord's heart. The Taotai demon lord, on the other hand, turned into countless strands of demonic chi and completely collapsed. In a chapter 1771, Tianyang retracted his hand. The countless swords, except for the great void sword embryo, all returned to the chaotic small world. However, Tianyang calmed his mind and quickly locked onto the blood soul curse left behind by the Taotai demon king before he died. However, Tianyang did not see this curse in the Sea of Soul. Then, Tianyang retreated. He suddenly realized that the blood soul curse was actually imprinted on the border of the Sea of Soul. Tianyang frowned slightly. Streams of godly soul power gushed out from the Sea of Soul, trying to erase the blood soul curse. However, the godly soul power passed through the blood soul curse directly. It was as if the blood imprint was not something that actually existed. Instead, it was merely an illusion that appeared there. In fact, it couldn't even be considered a shadow. If he did not see the existence of the blood soul curse through the godly soul mini, Tianyang would not know whether the blood seal existed or not. Because in Tianyang's godly soul, everything was normal. There was no blood soul curse at all. Tianyang frowned. Even if he searched through all the inheritances of the undead imperial court in his mind, Tianyang could not find any information about the blood soul curse. He also could not find any inheritances in the Heaven's Expanse shrine. The latter was understandable. Back then, the Heaven's Expanse Emperor could only defeat the Cloud Sea Demon King. When the 5 demon kings attacked together, the Heaven's Expanse Emperor could not withstand it. However, the former was one of the strongest forces in the divine world. Since the ancient times until now, the information that they had was as vast as the sea. Even so, they could not find any information about the blood soul curse. Either this blood soul curse was so mysterious that even the undead imperial court did not know about it. Either that, or the blood soul curse was created in the last few million years. To be able to create a new superpower from nothing, the martial civilization of the demon world is really strong. When Tianyang first learned about the distribution of forces in the demon world, he had a similar feeling. The devil realm was completely different from the god realm. The 10,000 realms of the god realm were all divided. There were only small alliances like the 100 territories in the south and the 1,000 territories in the north. The devil realm was divided into 5 parts: the 4 great devil nations and the central devil land. Each and every one of them was a unified nation. The martial arts civilization that could be born there would naturally be much stronger than the scattered god realm. However, this blood soul curse doesn't seem to have much effect. After that, Tianyang's figure flashed as he prepared to use the immortal flame to repair the damaged parts of his body. However, just as the undying divine flame appeared, it was suddenly extinguished. Tianyang's face darkened. The godly soul avatar in the sea of souls suddenly opened its eyes. From the perspective of the divine soul avatar, the blood seal imprinted on the border of the soul sea had just released a beam of light. Suppressing bloodline power? Tianyang's face hardened. Even the immortal bloodline could be suppressed. The blood soul curse was indeed a strange, secret technique that the Taotai demon lord had used up the last of his blood essence to perform. The immortal bloodline was the strongest bloodline left behind by the immortal heavenly lord, who was at least a peak existence among the ultimate gods. The blood soul curse was actually able to suppress it. It could be seen that the blood soul curse was extraordinary. However, fortunately, I no longer have the immortal divine body. Tianyang flicked his finger, and the flame formed by the chaotic energy burned on the wound. In an instant, the wound was healed. Compared to before, it's a lot slower. After all, I lack the support of the immortal bloodline. However, the immortal chaotic body is indeed worthy of the word immortal. Tianyang breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the immortal chaotic body could be healed, it was not a big problem. However, Tianyang was more concerned about the last sentence of the Taotai demon lord. Could the blood soul curse be seen by the entire devil realm? Or could it only be seen by the 3rd demon lord who did not come here to die? If it was the latter, there was nothing to worry about. If it was the former, Tianyang had to be careful. Cloud Sea Demon Lord, come out and explain, Tianyang said, and the bottle of true flames of destruction that he had thrown into the space bag at the beginning of the battle suddenly appeared in his hand. Cloud Sea Demon Lord's shocked and terrified voice rang out. Big brother, second brother, and fourth brother's divine soul connection has been cut off? How could you kill them? Demon Monarch Cloud Sea shouted in horror. The 5 demon monarchs were invincible in the central devil lands. Even the most dangerous time was only when 5 of them were on the verge of death. There had never been a situation where one of them was killed. This time, 3 of the 5 demon lords attacked together, but all of them were killed by Tianyang. Instantly, Demon Monarch Cloud Sea trembled in fear. His previous confidence was completely gone. Tianyang killed 4 of the 5 demon lords that he relied on the most. What was the use of the remaining one? Before Demon Lord Taotai died, he left me something called the Curse of the Blood Soul. What is that? Tianyang said coldly. Curse of the Blood Soul? Cloud Sea Demon Lord was stunned for a moment, then laughed wildly. Ha 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 ha! I knew that big brother was so powerful. He definitely wouldn't be killed by you so easily. With the Curse of the Blood Soul, you will definitely die. The entire devil realm will become your enemy. Even if you run out of the devil realm and enter the myriad stars, the Curse of the Blood Soul will still let everyone in the devil realm know where you are. Then they will kill you. The Curse of the Blood Soul is only used to deal with existences that threaten to shake the foundation of the devil realm. To be killed by the Curse of the Blood Soul is your fortune. Now, let me be the first one. Demon Monarch Cloud Sea laughed maniacally. Then, the demonic soul of the remnant soul instantly became abnormally unstable. Next, boom, Cloud Sea Demon Lord actually self-destructed. The exploding demonic soul power instantly broke through Tianyang's bottle of true flames of destruction. Then, the fluctuation also attacked Tianyang. However, Tianyang frowned slightly. With a wave of his hand, he blocked all the demonic soul power. However, his expression was a little ugly. What exactly is this curse of the blood soul? It actually made Cloud, Sea Demon Lord self-destruct without fear of death after hearing it. Next, the surrounding demonic chi left behind by Demon Lord Taotai after his death. At this moment, it also went berserk and attacked Tianyong fiercely. Tianyong waved his hand, and the remaining demonic chi was all swallowed by the heavenly sword. Curse of the blood soul. Tianyong raised his hand and looked into the distance. The pitch-black ground, the blood-red mountain peak, and the dark red and dim sky. It was as if the entire world had become Tianyong's enemy. Enemy of the devil realm? Tianyong also noticed that on the border of the Sea of Soul, a number slowly appeared in the center of the blood print. 1. Interesting. End of chapter. Chapter 1772. Someone actually released the blood soul curse in a huge tower in the central Devilland. An expert's expression froze as he looked into the distance. Waves of demonic chi rushed into the person's eyes. Suddenly, the ordinary and mediocre scene in the distance changed. In the endless darkness, a pillar of blood was like the brightest star in the night sky, dazzling and eye-catching. This level of blood soul curse can only be performed by someone at the demon monarch level. After staring at the pillar of blood for a while, the demonic aura in the white-robed expert's eyes slowly dissipated. It seems that big trouble has come to the devil world this time. The blood soul curse was also divided into levels. Below the demon saint level was the first level. Although those below the saint level could use their own life to perform the blood soul curse, it was generally useless. It could only be seen when one was within 1,000,000 miles. If the person's strength reached the demon saint level, he could use his own strength to remove the blood soul curse. There was another level between the demon saint level and the demon god level. This level of blood soul curse was enough to be seen by the entire devil kingdom. Moreover, compared to the lowest level of blood soul curse, there was an additional effect. It suppressed the opponent's bloodline power. If there was none, it would suppress the opponent's true yuan. Furthermore, once the second level of the blood soul curse was unleashed, the devil race cultivators of this level would be obligated to act and kill the person who was marked. The highest level of blood soul curse was from the demon god level to the demon monarch level. It was extremely difficult for even an ultimate god to remove the blood soul curse of this level. The range of observation had also expanded from the devil kingdom to the entire devil world. Not only the demon cultivators in the devil world, but also the devil world itself. However, according to legend, the blood soul curse was created by the demon ancestor thousands of years ago. At that time, the devil world suffered from an unknown heavenly tribulation. The entire devil world was almost destroyed by this heavenly tribulation. The people of the god world took advantage of this and almost destroyed the devil world. If it was not for the demon ancestor, the devil world might have been destroyed. As for the blood soul curse, it was created by the demon ancestor in legend to mark the experts of the human race in the god world. Therefore, it had the power to connect the entire devil world. The highest level blood soul curse had another effect other than suppression and marking. It would automatically devour the souls of the dead demons around it, and then strengthen the power of the blood soul curse. The more souls it absorbed, the stronger the blood soul curse became, and the more obvious the blood pillars could be seen from the perspective of the demons. This was the secret of the blood soul curse. It was an incomparably complete and strange method that could be used to eliminate all threats. I don't know who it is, but the appearance of the blood soul curse means that another demon sovereign has fallen in the demon realm. A blood-red light flashed in the eyes of the white-robed powerhouse. He straightened his clothes and flew away. My lord, the person serving the demon monarch was stunned. What are you going to do? Kill. The central devil lands, the 4 great devil nations. In the entire divine world, people with strength above the divine realm could clearly see the dazzling blood pillar far away in the central devil land through the devil chi. This pillar of blood represented the death of at least one demon monarch. Even if there were not many people like the white-robed powerhouse, It was enough to attract a large number of demon gods to besiege and kill Tianyang in the demon realm. At this time, Tianyang was still in the holy land of the Cloud Ocean sect, crazily devouring the devil chi. Thanks to the Taotai demon monarch, who was an extremely useful devil chi transfer station, about 20% of Tianyang's chaotic divine force had been converted into devil chi. The devil chi was released to the outside world by the Taotai demon monarch through self-destruction. It was simply a perfect completion of the mission of the demonic energy transfer station, allowing Heavenly Sun's Heaven Cloud sword to eat to its heart's content. At this moment, more than half of the sea of devil chi had been devoured by Tianyang. Streaks of mysterious nine-color divine light were released from the Sky Cloud sword, and mysterious runes were released one after another. Boom! The runes seemed to come from the ancient times, and they were engraved with ancient secrets. The nine-colored Xingguang gathered on the heavenly sword. In just a moment, the heavenly sword had broken through the shackles of the low-grade divine level. It had stepped into the mid-grade divine level martial soul. At this point, Tianyang even doubted whether it could still be considered a martial soul. The essence of a martial soul was very simple. It was the martial soul of a cultivator in the Tianshao Great World. Usually, this martial soul would appear in various forms, and most of them were related to the cultivator that the martial soul belonged to. Ling Yuhan's nine-tailed moon fox martial soul was the manifestation of the snow god's bloodline. Tianyang's heavenly sword was also the manifestation of the heavenly sword that Tianyang had forged in his previous life. However, the more Tianyang cultivated, the more he felt that something was amiss. Although the heavenly sword in his previous life was extraordinary, it was only a supreme-grade spiritual weapon. Now, the heavenly sword martial soul had long surpassed the supreme-grade spiritual weapon level. Sacred weapons, great sacred weapons, holy royal weapons, and semi-divine weapons were all under his feet. Now, just the heavenly sword alone was equivalent to a divine weapon with extraordinary power. Compared to the heavenly sword in his previous life, it was much weaker. Now, it had broken through to the middle-grade divine level. In terms of power, it was not much weaker than the damaged Heaven's Expanse shrine. However, the four great demon monarchs and my 20% chaotic divine power could only make the heavenly sword break through to the middle-grade divine level. It's still a little lacking. Tianyang sighed and said, if the heavenly sword broke through to the middle-grade divine level, then Tianyang could rely on his own strength to fight with the snow god. If he faced the undead emperor again, he would not be killed in an instant. However, if the current Tianyang activated the sky, swallowing secret technique, he would be able to step into the emperor realm. Next is, Tianyang muttered to himself and suddenly raised his head. The power of this blood soul curse is not bad. I've just used it, and there are already people coming to die. Tianyang smiled. The power of his divine soul gathered into a straight detection beam. It easily saw the few middle-grade God Realm experts at the edge of the holy land of the Cloud Ocean sect. Boom! The edge of the holy land of the Cloud Ocean sect was directly shattered by these middle-grade God Realm experts. Although the master of the Cloud Ocean sect was the Cloud Ocean Demon Monarch, the protection of the holy land of the Cloud Ocean sect was not very strong. In front of the demon monarchs, it was easily shattered. In the next moment, two middle-grade God Realm experts appeared in front of Tianyang. What a strong blood soul curse aura. The two demon monarchs instantly saw Tianyang, who had swallowed all the demonic chi but did not have time to restrain his aura. He only released the aura of a middle-grade God Realm expert. A cruel look flashed in their eyes. Rays of blood-red light filled the sky, and the demonic chi surged. In terms of density, the demonic chi was stronger than Tianyang's. Without the slightest hesitation, they directly attacked. Kill. End of chapter. Chapter 1773. Boom. Boundless blood-red light seemed to envelop the entire sky, filling Tianyang's vision. The sky of the demon realm was dark red to begin with. However, when the two demon gods attacked, the dark red turned into a glaring blood red. Blood rends the firmament. Soul burial elegy. The two demon gods roared at the same time, and billowing demonic aura gathered. The former condensed a spear that pierced through the heavens and earth and shot it at Tianyang. The latter used demonic aura as words and demonic souls as ink to condense countless strange runes. These runes combined and were blasted away by the peak late-stage demon god. Immediately, the shrieks of countless dead souls reverberated in Tianyang's soul. Caught off guard, Tianyang's soul trembled. However, rather than trembling, it would be more appropriate to say that it was fluctuating. At that moment, the blood-red spear arrived in front of Tianyang. Boom! The blood-red spear slammed into the pitch-black ground, tearing a 1,000-mile-long abyss in the ground. However, there was no sign of life in the abyss. He actually dodged it. The demon god who had launched the attack was immediately stunned when he saw this. Han Zong was actually able to dodge the attack when the soul burial requiem was attacking the soul. That was a soul attack that even the demon lord might not be able to block without injury. Looks like he's just lucky. The demon god snorted. With a wave of his right hand, beams of blood-red light gathered. Demonic aura surged into his eyes, and he instantly saw a blood-red pillar of light that was even more dazzling than the blood-red sun. With the blood soul curse, as long as he was in the demon realm, he could forget about escaping. He's quite fast. After locking onto Tianyang's position, the demon god's lips curled into a sinister smile. Then his figure flashed. The blood-red light in his hand continued to gather. The next time he appeared directly in front of Tianyang. The demonic aura in his hand blasted violently at Tianyang. Die. The blood soul curse, other than being able to be seen by everyone, had another effect. Or rather, it was a reward. As long as he could kill the person with the blood soul curse, he would be able to reach the supreme devil pillar in the central devil lands and obtain a chance to comprehend the devil ancestors' mighty power. For these demons who were stuck at the peak of the late stage and were only one step away from becoming an imperial emperor, the reward of killing the blood soul curse was no less than obtaining a demon monarch divine artifact. That was why so many devils attached so much importance to the blood soul curse, because this represented the opportunity for them to continue breaking through. Now die. The peak late-stage demon god roared, and bloodlight gathered in his hand, turning into a spear that shot out. Its target was Tianyang's forehead. Boom! The spear pierced through Tianyang's forehead. However, the pierced Tianyang's body twisted and disappeared. An afterimage. Seeing this scene, how could the demon god not know what he had killed? His face instantly turned extremely ugly. His all-out attack had only pierced through an afterimage. In the next moment, the demon god gritted his teeth, and his demonic aura surged again. As the demon monarch level blood soul curse was too conspicuous in one's field of vision, generally speaking, it would not be activated during a battle to avoid affecting one's vision. However, Tianyang's movement technique had clearly exceeded the expectations of the two demon gods. They could only activate the blood soul curse's detection at any time to lock onto Tianyang. Where is he? The demon god snorted coldly, then locked onto Tianyang's location. His figure flashed, and he charged out with the spear in his hand. However, this spear only pierced through Tianyang's afterimage. He actually ran away. The demon god's pupils contracted, and he flung his spear to the side in disbelief. At this moment, countless demonic aura spikes exploded from the blood-red spear, shooting in all directions. However, this time, it only hit the afterimage. Damn it! The demon god was instantly enraged to the extreme, and he opened up his own small world. In his own small world, there was no such thing as an afterimage. Everything was under their control. In an instant, the area within a radius of 40,000 miles became the small world of this peak late-stage demon god. Boom! In an instant, the demon god finally determined Tianyang's location. He roared and charged over. Demonic blood prison. On the ground, Countless drops of blood suddenly surged, directly blocking Tianyang's path. "Now you can't run away," the demon god roared. This guy was as slippery as a loach. No matter how he attacked, he could not hit him. He attacked with all his might countless times, but in the end, he did not achieve anything. Now he finally seized the opportunity to kill him. Blood splitting the firmament. The spear in the demon god's hand emitted rays of demonic light, and he stabbed out. Endless demonic light condensed into a line and shot fiercely at Tianyang. Boom! However, before this demonic light could attack Tianyang, there was a sudden loud explosion. The bloody light cage that imprisoned Tianyang suddenly exploded. Countless fragments shot out in all directions. What? The demon god's pupils contracted. At this moment, Tianyang stretched out his hand. Its power is not bad. Tianyang smiled slightly. Whether it was the demonic blood splitting the firmament that was blasted out by the spear that seemed to belong to an emperor weapon. Just this demonic light alone was enough to threaten the heavenly sun. If not for the fact that this person's speed was far inferior to Tianyang's expanse secret technique, Tianyang would not dare to be so careless. "How can you?" The demon god's pupils contracted as he exclaimed. Tianyang then grabbed the demonic light with one hand. He gripped it tightly. Boom! The demonic light, which clearly did not have a physical body, was actually crushed into pieces by an incomparably terrifying force at this moment, and directly exploded. The sky was filled with fragments. In the next moment, Tianyang's figure suddenly disappeared. Then he appeared in front of the demon god. "Help me!" The demon god immediately felt his soul leave his body as he roared. The demon god, who had been trying his best to restrict Tianyang's movements, finally gave up on this meaningless action and attacked Tianyang. However, Tianyang managed to grab the demon god's head before it could make a move. Bang! He crushed it with one hand. Then, Tianyang turned around and took a few steps forward, arriving in front of another demon god. Ignoring all of the other party's defenses, a pure white longsword suddenly flew out from his palm. The sword pierced through the person's forehead, although it was only an attack of divine power. However, it was so powerful that it directly penetrated into the demon god's soul sea and crushed it, killing a demon in 10 steps. Invincible for 1,000 miles. End of this chapter. Chapter 1774. Tianyang didn't need to use much strength to deal with these two demon gods. The power of the Heaven's Expanse secret skill was secondary. Also, after the Sky Firmament sword broke through to the mid-divine level, it had greatly increased Tianyang's strength. Tianyang didn't expect that the Sky Firmament sword's breakthrough would bring such a huge increase to Tianyang's cultivation. Although the Sky Firmament sword's breakthrough in the Tianxiao Great World would also bring about an increase in Tianyang's cultivation, the increase wasn't that great. This time, Tianyang directly broke through from the peak of the late stage of the God Realm to the same level as the Undying Prince, the half-step Imperial Emperor Realm. One had to know that the difference between the two was incomparable to countless people from the Body Refinement Realm to the Heaven Ascension Realm. If it was just an increase in cultivation, Tianyang might not have become so strong. However, after the Sky Firmament sword evolved, the divine power left behind by the Undying Emperor in Tianyang's Soul Sea was also made up for by the Sky Firmament sword. Originally, Tianyang only had the cultivation and aura of the peak of the late stage of the God Realm. The divine power he could unleash was only at the peak of the early stage of the God Realm. It was just that his divine power was stronger than before. Even if his cultivation broke through to the half-step Imperial Emperor Realm, he was still at the peak of the early stage of the God Realm. But now it was different. With the dissolution of the divine power, Tianyang's power had increased to the mid-stage of the God Realm. Compared to when he fought the Taotai Demon Lord, his strength was much stronger. Unfortunately, if I use the Sky-Devouring secret skill before my divine soul completely recovers, it's very likely that I'll activate the divine power. Otherwise, I want to compete with those divine masters. Tianyang chuckled. With the current power of the Sky Firmament sword, If Tianyang used the sky-devouring secret skill, he could directly step into the Imperial Emperor realm. It was more than enough to block a Divine Master's move. Of course, against a Divine Master like the Undying Emperor realm, Tianyang could only be killed in an instant. Speaking of which, what does this number mean? At this moment, Tianyang noticed the change in the blood-soul curse at the edge of his soul sea. The number above had changed from 1 to 3. However, the blood-soul curse seemed to have been weakened by the sky firmament's sword's evolution, but there were still no changes. However, with the existence of this blood-soul curse, it will be difficult to do things safely. Tianyang muttered to himself and then took a step forward. He released the heavenly sword and devoured the demonic chi of the 2 demonic gods. Although this demonic chi was just a drop in the bucket for the sky firmament sword to continue breaking through to the high-grade divine rank, it was still meat no matter how small the mosquito was. This was the only way to break through to high-grade divine rank. In the profound heaven-great cosmos, one could occasionally find a demon, but not in the god realm. As a result, Tianyang's heavenly sword had almost never broken through in the divine world. Why are there so many of them again? Sensing the powerful auras coming from the distance, Tianyang frowned and sighed. The sky firmament sword, which had been released and was about to be retracted, now changed its direction and circled towards Tianyang. Next, he should be able to kill a lot of them. At the very center of the central demonic soil. The central demonic soil was vast, much larger than the 4 demonic nations. Because of this, most of the central demonic soil was barren. Only around the sky-piercing demonic pillar was a gathering place for demons. This blood-soul curse seems to have existed for a long time. Someone in the shadows spoke slowly. The last time the blood-soul curse appeared was 300 years ago. It only appeared for a few hours and then disappeared. After all, it's a great opportunity to study the sky-piercing demonic lord. For those cultivators, it's no different from being imbued with demonic chi. Naturally, they'll do whatever it takes to kill the blood-soul curse. But it's already been 3 days. It's been a little too long. No matter how good he is at escaping, he can't possibly escape for so long with the blood-soul curse. A man slowly walked out from the shadows. The man's eyes were dim, as if he had lost his mind. That's unknown. Perhaps this person is so strong that those who went after him died. Another voice in the shadows chuckled. Those who are marked with the blood-soul curse are enemies of the demonic realm. The longer this person survives, the greater the threat to the demonic realm. So you want to take action? The voice in the shadows was a little surprised. It was as if this man with lifeless eyes was some kind of overlord. The soulless, Su Yin. If the 5 demonic lords roamed freely in the central demonic soil, no one dared to provoke them. Then, Su Yin was the strongest demonic lord in the central demonic soil, above the 5 demonic lords. Legend had it that Su Yin was originally a genius of the Blood Demon clan, who was most likely to become the leader of the Blood Demon clan. However, in a war with the God realm millions of years ago, as the strongest genius of the Blood Demon clan, Su Yin's demonic soul was severely injured by an emperor of the God realm. Originally, Su Yin should have died on the spot, but through the Blood Demon clan's blood sea, he managed to survive. Then, he merged the remaining demonic soul into his demonic body, and his body completely lost the means to attack the divine soul. However, it also created this demonic lord who is invincible below the God realm. Aren't you making a big fuss over nothing by taking action? The voice said in surprise. After Su Yin lost his demonic soul, he also lost the opportunity to become the leader of the Blood Demon clan. Since then, he had lived a secluded life in the central demonic soil. He went out occasionally, but never took action. Now, he actually wanted to take action specifically for a blood soul curse. To be able to survive for 3 days in front of countless experts of the demon realm, or rather, to be able to survive for 3 days like this, we have to take him seriously. Su Yan's voice was stiff and lifeless. So I must kill him. If you go, you will die. So I can only go. Then, Su Yin took a step forward and quickly flew into the distance. If I go, I will die. In the shadows, the voice repeated, What do you think I, the dignified Yin Xian, am? Then, a pretty figure appeared in the shadows. Although she was from the demon clan, her face was fair, and there was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. After confirming the direction in which Su Yin left, she quickly followed. The central demonic soil was still calm. However, if the demon clan and the central demonic soil knew that the two strongest demon lords in the demon realm, Su Yin and Yin Xian, had taken action for one person, they didn't know how shocking it would be. At this time, Tianyang took care of the last demon god who came to court death and set off. The 5 demon lords were almost all dead before he could leave the holy land of the Cloud Ocean sect. Tianyang was going to take the next step of his plan. He was going to the central demonic soil, the legendary place where the demon ancestor lived in seclusion. End of chapter. Chapter 1775. Another one. Tianyang sighed and released his divine power to wash his robe. The traces of demonic blood on it had also disappeared. In the past 3 days, Tianyang had killed countless demon gods. In the beginning, only the 2 demon gods came. They were extremely powerful and were not much weaker than demon monarch Cloud Sea. Later, even the mid-stage demon gods dared to come and die. Tianyang was too lazy to waste time. He killed them with a sword and then devoured their demonic energy. At the edge of his soul sea, the number of the blood soul curse had changed from 3 to 325. This meant that at least 325 demon gods had died in Tianyang's hands. Although the martial arts civilization of the demon realm was not weak, it was only at the foundation. In Wuzun realm, cultivators could still rely on the strength of the martial arts civilization to cultivate. But in the Sage realm, the environment could no longer change anything. The most important thing was one's talent, hard work, and opportunities. Along the way, Tianyang had killed only a few peak late-stage demon gods. However, he had killed many mid-stage and early-stage god realm cultivators who came to die. As for the demon monarchs, he had not seen any of them. After all, the status of an imperial emperor in the divine realm was the same as the status of a demon monarch in the demon realm. In the divine realm, an imperial emperor could control 100 territories and become a hero. Although the divine realm was vast, there were not many imperial emperors. At most, there were no more than 300. If not for the fact that most of them were concentrated in powerful forces, Tianyang would not be able to find a single imperial emperor even if he wandered around the divine realm. In the demon realm, a demon monarch was equivalent to the second-in-command of a demon kingdom. The 5 demon monarchs were considered the top in the central demon territory and even in the entire demon realm. Another one has come to die. At this moment, Tianyang sighed again. In the demon realm, there were so many people who were not afraid of death for opportunities and cultivation. In the senses of his divine soul, the person who came to kill him was not even an early-stage god realm cultivator. At most, he had just entered the god realm and might not even have mastered the divine Tao law. Such a cultivator actually wanted to kill someone? Ha ha! After many days of bitter cultivation, I finally succeeded in breaking through to the fiend celestial realm. A wild laugh came from afar. Then, the new demon god appeared in front of Tianyang in a flash. Murderous intent could be seen in his eyes. Moreover, I never imagined that I would be able to use the blood soul curse on my divine Tao laws one by one. That person laughed arrogantly. Even though he had entered Tianyang's attack range, he still did not make any move. Even the most basic layer of defense could not be achieved. Today is the day that the blood soul curse disappears. At the same time, it is also the day that I, the chaotic sky demon god, will become famous. The demon god who had just become a demon god laughed and attacked instantly. Streams of demonic energy charged towards Tianyang. Law of destruction. Tianyang recognized the divine Tao law that this person cultivated with a single glance. If it was the law of destruction, it was not impossible to explain this person's arrogance. The law of destruction was an extremely powerful divine Tao law, even in the entire universe. However, Tianyang had killed more than 300 demon gods and had even seen strange laws like the law of death and the law of life. Naturally, he would not be moved by a mere law of destruction. He waved his hand casually. Boom! Boundless divine power burst out. What? When had that guy who had just become a demon god seen such a scene before? His expression changed drastically, and he gave up all plans to attack Tianyang. He turned around and ran. Boom! However, Heavenly Sun's divine power far surpassed his speed to begin with. It directly exploded in midair, turning into dazzling fireworks in midair. Not dead, Tianyang was stunned. He sensed that the explosion of divine power did not directly kill this suicidal new demon god. Instead, it was blocked by something. Someone's there? Tianyang's expression turned serious. He circulated his divine power and entered the most alert state. The tiny divine soul person moved slightly and also sensed a figure in the explosion. This person, why do I feel that he's stronger than the Taotai demon lord? The closer I get to the heavenly demon pillar, the stronger the people I meet. Tianyang's current plan was to go to the heavenly demon pillar to take a look. The closer he got to the central demon soil, the stronger the experts that appeared. However, this person gave Tianyang a feeling that even the 5 demon lords combined would not be able to defeat him. You are the person who bears the blood soul curse? The light of the explosion gradually disappeared, and then a white-haired man walked out. His white hair was not the kind that was full of vitality. Instead, it was the grayish-white color of an old man who had lost his vitality. However, his face was strangely abnormally young. When these two contradictions were put together, it gave him a sense of contradiction. You are? I've confirmed it. So kill him. The white-haired youth spoke. However, these few words had an inexplicable pause, and there was no fluctuation in his tone. It was as if a machine was speaking. Lord Su Yen, the new demon god who was about to be killed by Tianyang, immediately shouted in surprise. As a demon god of the central demon soil, he had naturally been to the heavenly demon pillar many times. Naturally, he also knew that the strongest demon lord who lived near the heavenly demon pillar was Su Yen, the former young master of the blood demon clan. Demons don't kill. Leave or die. Su Yen turned his head and looked at the new demon god. Hearing this, the new demon god shuddered. He had long heard that Su Yan's words were strange, and his temperament was not very normal. Now, it seemed that it was true. After that, he did not dare to stay and watch the battle between the strongest demon lord and the person with the blood soul curse. Only when the new demon god had completely left did Su Yen turn his head. His grayish-white hair fluttered, and demon chi was released from Su Yan's body. However, when he looked carefully, he did not see Tianyang's figure. Boom! A fist that burned with true flames of destruction smashed fiercely towards Su Yen. Indestructible burning heaven seal. After comprehending the complete 3 styles of indestructible, Tianyang had a deep understanding of the Undying Emperor Court's martial skills. Even if the power of the bloodline was hindered by the blood soul curse, he could still replace the undying god fire with true flames of destruction and blast out this indestructible burning heaven seal. Boom! Su Yen was ruthlessly smashed in the face by the indestructible burning heaven seal. Waves of true flames of destruction erupted and burned crazily on Su Yan's face. Then Tianyang punched again. Emperor wore 8 desolates. The incomparably domineering fist replaced the previous indestructible burning heaven seal and smashed fiercely on Su Yan's body. Boom! Su Yan was sent flying hundreds of miles. End of chapter. Chapter 1776. Boom! Su Yan was sent flying by Tianyang's attack. However, even so, the solemn expression on Tianyang's face didn't disappear at all. It was different from when he dealt with Taotai Demon Lord, Baiquan Demon Lord, and Luo Yin Demon Lord, where he killed Luo Yin Demon Lord instantly. This time, when he sent Su Yen flying, Tianyang felt as if he had punched cotton. Even if he used 100% of his strength, he wouldn't be able to cause much damage to Su Yen. However, in the next moment, Su Yan's figure that had been blasted away slowly stood up. There wasn't much expression on his face. In the next moment, his figure flashed. Boom! Heavenly Son's heart was instantly alarmed, and he instantly blasted backward. Su Yan's fist also collided with Tianyang's fist. Dong! Strangely, when the two fists collided with each other, the sound that was produced was unusually dull. Before Tianyang had time to wonder, he knew the reason. This was the sound of space shattering could be heard within 100 miles. An energy storm swept up from the ground, as if it was connecting heaven and earth. At the same time, it erupted with unparalleled destructive power. Mountains, rivers, grass, trees, and earth were all torn into pieces by this energy storm. Break! Tianyang snorted coldly and released the heavenly sword. The great void sword embryo also instantly appeared in his hand. Heavenly sword. Because Tianyang's divine soul was still restricted by the supreme god power of the immortal emperor. Even if the heaven-devouring secret skill raised Tianyang's cultivation to the emperor realm, Tianyang could at most display the strength of the middle stage god realm. It wasn't of much use. However, the heavenly sword had more than one martial soul talent. The other was the sword of the heavens. Boom! It wasn't as majestic as the 100,000-mile sword light that erupted during the battle with Xianyuan Changshen. This sword was only about 30 feet in diameter. Compared to the energy storm that was thousands of miles high, it was like a drop in the ocean. It was unbelievably small. However, it was this sword, boom, along with strands of chaotic qi. It instantly cut off Su Yan's right arm. Demonic blood splattered everywhere. Tianyang's eyes narrowed slightly as he executed the Boundless Expanse secret technique. For experts above the Saint realm, losing an arm in battle was not a serious injury. As long as one had sufficient veritable essence energy or divine energy, one could retrieve the severed arm within 10 seconds. But what if the severed arm that flew out changed? Tianyang had not forgotten how he had fought back the demonized vast expanse Holy Spirit who had lost his mind because of the demonic qi. Heavenly sword, third martial soul talent, divine punishment, devil cleansing. Tianyang's sword slashed out, but it did not land on Su Yan's body. Instead, it landed heavily on Su Yan's right arm, which had been sent flying. The flowing black demon blood and the boiling grayish-black demon qi were severed by the heavenly sword. However, there wasn't much change to the arm. Su Yan was also stunned. If he immediately chopped the severed arm into powder, he wouldn't be able to retrieve it. However, he could use this time to regenerate a new limb. Rebirth from a drop of blood was a secret technique of the immortal divine body. However, regenerating a severed arm was extremely common. However, Su Yan had never seen someone like Tianyang, who had only removed the demonic qi and demon blood from the severed arm. It wasn't that he hadn't fought fiercely with the humans of the God Realm. During the war between the God Realm and the Demon Realm, he had taken the lives of many God Realm humans. However, there had never been someone like Tianyang. Demonic qi, demon blood, I can repair it immediately. Su Yan snorted coldly as a demonic aura erupted from Su Yan's body. Tianyang immediately blocked with his sword, but his body still retreated a few steps back. At this moment, it also gave Su Yan a chance to retrieve the severed arm again. In just an instant, the severed arm had returned to Su Yan's body. Streams of demon blood flowed back into it. It's useless, Su Yan said indifferently, as the demonic fire on his body reignited. How does it feel to get a bomb? At this moment, Tianyang smiled slightly as the sky, firmament sword in his hand, blossomed with 9-colored xinguang. In an instant, the endless power of the sky, firmament sword erupted from the severed arm. Demonic cleansing. Tianyang laughed loudly as the 9-colored xinguang ignited the right arm. With Su Yan's right arm as the starting point, a pure white flame burned and ignited the entire Su Yan in an instant. Su Yan's pupils constricted as he immediately cut off his right arm again. However, this demonic cleansing fire had already spread to his entire body. Even if the demonic qi completely erupted, it couldn't stop the spread of the demonic cleansing fire. Heaven-opening sword technique. Tianyang snorted coldly as his figure flashed and rushed out. If he used the chaotic divine domain, Tianyang would be able to quickly deal with it. However, the chaotic divine domain was still a huge consumption even for Tianyang, who was at the peak of the late stage of the god realm. It was just as the Undying Prince had said. This was the divine might of forcefully stripping a certain area of the heavenly Tao. Only a divine venerable could control it. If it wasn't for the last moment, Tianyang didn't plan to use the chaotic divine domain. Now, with the demonic cleansing fire, even if Tianyang couldn't immediately kill Su Yin, he could still seriously injure him. The chaotic divine law carried the power of 200,000 miles of the world and condensed on the Great Void Sword Embryo. The Sky Firmament Sword and the Great Void Sword Embryo merged and released a supreme divine might that seemed to split the heavens and earth. Some changes also appeared on Su Yan's stiff face. Demonic qi erupted crazily and finally removed the demonic cleansing fire at this moment. However, he didn't have the ability to continue blocking Tianyang's sword. Dying. Su Yan's white hair fluttered in the wind. Even if he couldn't block it, he wasn't willing to sit still and wait for death. His physical strength was completely released as he clenched his right hand into a fist. Waves of primordial emperor pressure were released from Su Yan's body. Demonic emperor shrouding the heavens. Emperor technique. Tianyang's expression changed. Su Yan actually knew an emperor technique. However, although the emperor technique was strong, without the support of demonic qi, he definitely wouldn't be able to block Tianyang's sword. Tianyang's heaven-opening sword technique, even if it wasn't an emperor technique, wasn't far from it. I'll return these words to you. Heavenly Sun roared and slashed down with his sword. Countless primordial chaos burned at this moment. Behind Su Yan, the phantom of a blood demon emperor that had just formed was directly destroyed by this sword. Su Yan's heart trembled. At this moment, countless demonic qi erupted. However, this was definitely something that couldn't be blocked. Soon, Tianyang would kill this strongest demon emperor of the demon race under his sword. I told you, if you didn't bring me out, you definitely wouldn't have a good ending. Suddenly, a slightly charming voice sounded. Following that, a demonic qi that wasn't much weaker than Su Yan's charged fiercely towards Tianyang with the power of the world. Look at him now. Didn't he just lose a hand? Under the entanglement of the demonic qi, a young girl with a fair face and dark red eyes wearing black leather clothes slowly appeared. She leaned her finger against her lips and smiled slightly. End of chapter. Chapter 1777. A strand of devil qi shackled Tianyang's figure. At the same time, Tianyang's heaven-splitting sword technique was blocked by the shackles as well. Bang! A loud bang resounded as the devil qi shackle shattered. However, Su Yan found an opportunity to erupt with devil qi, and he instantly escaped from the shackles. His empty eyes actually flashed with a trace of seriousness. Obviously, he'd underestimated Tianyang. Even if Tianyang was strong to the point that he had to make a move, he felt that he shouldn't have to make a move. Making a move was still overestimating him. Tianyang's strength had far exceeded his imagination. Merely the method of purifying devil qi and transforming his severed arm into a vessel that carried the power to eliminate devil qi was enough to shake the entire devil dimension. The devil dimension and god dimension had fought fiercely throughout the primeval times until now, yet there had never been such a powerful attack against devil qi. If everyone in the god dimension was capable of it, then it would be the most terrifying news to the devil dimension. Like I said, you'll definitely suffer if you rashly ran out by yourself. At this moment, the woman who'd restrained Tianyang and blocked the heaven-splitting sword technique spoke with a smile. "In Xian, when did you follow me?" Su Yan spoke. However, he didn't have much of an accusing tone. After all, if In Xian hadn't acted earlier, then he might really have died at Tianyang's hands. "I followed you right after you left. Do you think I don't know the danger of the Blood Soul Curse that has existed for 3 days?" In Xian smiled, and then she glanced at Su Yan's right arm that hadn't recovered until now, and her expression instantly turned gloomy to the extreme. "Your right arm is broken." It was merely 6 words, yet they seemed to contain boundless killing intent. Ancien's long black hair actually turned blood red for an instant. Her dark red eyes had completely turned scarlet red that was filled with icy cold killing intent. It doesn't matter. Su Yin shook his head. Although it was impossible for him to regenerate it in a short period of time, the temporary loss of an arm was not a serious injury to Su Yin. Looks like I have to kill you. Ancien, on the other hand, completely ignored Su Yan's words. With a cold snort, numerous extremely pure, demonic auras erupted. In the next moment, his figure flashed. He arrived directly in front of Tianyang. Using his palm as a knife, he chopped down viciously. At the same time, Ancien shouted coldly, "Blood Soul Explosion!" Boom! Just as Tianyang was about to counterattack, the Blood Soul curse in his soul instantly exploded into countless flames. Blood-red flames ignited in Tianyang's soul sea. Tianyang didn't expect the Blood Soul curse to be so powerful other than locating and suppressing the undying bloodline. In an instant, Tianyang used all his spiritual power to resist the Blood Soul curse. As for the outside world whoosh, a silver light flashed. Tianyang was in a daze. However, in the instant before he was in a daze, Tianyang immediately used the Boundless Expanse secret technique and teleported several feet away. However, Ancien's palm knife seemed to have eyes. It directly located where Tianyang teleported and chopped down. Clang! The sound of metal colliding rang out. This palm knife chopped onto Tianyang's body, but it had no effect. It couldn't break Tianyang's immortal chaotic body at all. However, Ancien's expression didn't change. Demonic aura erupted. Heavenly devil true body. In an instant, demonic aura swirled around. As the strongest genius of the Heavenly Devil clan, Ancien had just started the battle when she unleashed her strongest move. She didn't give Tianyang any chance to resist. Layers of demonic aura swirled around Ancien's body, and the aura on her body suddenly skyrocketed. However, it was different from the heavenly devils that Tianyang had seen before. Once they revealed their true body, they turned into ferocious monsters. Ancien's heavenly devil true body didn't change much in terms of appearance. She was still in the form of a charming young girl from before. However, the black leather clothes on her body had turned dark purple. Her current aura had also risen to the peak of the Demon Lord realm. She might be quite a bit weaker than Su Yin, but if she joined forces with Su Yin, even Tianyang didn't dare to guarantee that he could resist. "How dare you hurt Su Yin?" Ancien's voice was cold, and in the next moment, her figure suddenly disappeared. "You broke his finger, and I'll break your arm. You broke his arm, and I'll let your entire body fall into the 9 nether yellow springs." In the next moment, endless heavenly devil power erupted. Great heavenly devil palm seal. It wasn't complicated. In fact, it was a little too simple as a seal condensed in Ancien's hand. In the next moment, it fiercely bombarded Tianyang. Boom! As if a supreme demon race mighty figure had attacked. A handprint crushed the void for thousands of miles and ruthlessly suppressed Tianyang. However, Su Yin didn't let go of this opportunity and directly attacked. Primordial Blood Devil Seal. Even though it couldn't compare to the powerful Emperor technique that he had used before, this primordial ability still had incomparably terrifying power. Combined with Ancien's Heavenly Devil Palm Seal, it directly erupted with an attack that was even more powerful and explosive than the two combined. The power of the Blood Devil and the Heavenly Devil intertwined and actually revealed a supreme Emperor statue. With blood-red hair and white eyes, it was like a demon god. Kill! A cold snort came from the demon god Emperor statue. The primordial Blood Devil Seal and the Heavenly Devil Palm Seal instantly merged into one. What kind of technique is this? Tianyang's expression changed slightly as he looked at the two powerful attacks that had merged into one. Then he gritted his teeth. All the divine power in his body directly burned. At a glance, that demon god Emperor statue was the manifestation of the divine power of a certain demon god. In the face of an attack of this level, it was almost impossible to escape. In other words, he could only take it head-on. Chaos God Law. Tianyang roared angrily. The supreme divine Tao law that had existed before the creation of heaven and earth appeared around him. The great void sword embryo in his hand that had merged with the heavenly sword also erupted with streaks of chaotic colors. A small world of 200,000 miles was not much different from Yin and Su Yan's small worlds combined. This was also the only way Tianyang could block the attack of the demon god emperor statue. Chaos opens the heavens, endless creation. Tianyang roared angrily as the great void sword embryo in his hand released a supreme Xinguang. It was as if the word creation was exactly what it meant. At the same time, Tianyang did not care if he could control such a huge amount of divine power. He directly gritted his teeth and activated the heaven-devouring secret skill. Almost endless demonic qi was converted by the heavenly sword and entered Tianyang's body. Tianyang's cultivation also soared to the imperial emperor realm at this moment. Die! Yin roared angrily and unleashed her full strength. Tianyang also slashed out with this sword. The second sword of the heaven-opening sword technique. Creation of a universe. End of this chapter. Chapter 1778. Creation of a universe. Tianyang roared, and rolling divine power erupted from Tianyang's body. Tianyang's divine soul was severely injured, and it was difficult for him to control divine power above the middle stage of the god realm. However, the sky-devouring secret skill was not useless. After attaining the divine martial soul, the heaven-devouring secret technique had changed from merely increasing the quantity of heavenly sun energy to increasing both the quantity and cultivation level. Now, what Tianyang needed was to increase his cultivation level. It was the same burning divine power, but the divine power of an emperor was completely different from the divine power of a late-stage god realm. That was the only way Tianyang could use the second sword of the heaven-opening sword art. After defeating the Undying Prince and almost being killed by the Undying Emperor, he created the second sword of the heaven-opening sword art. Boom! The burning, chaotic divine power was as dazzling as the stars in the sky, and it was dazzling. No, rather, this sword was a constellation. At this moment, what Tianyang slashed out was no longer a blade-like sword light, but a real star that seemed to split the heavens and earth. Holding the sun and moon in his hand, swallowing the stars in his palm, and creating the universe with his sword. This is an emperor technique. Seeing this, Yin expression changed drastically. Even as the second demon monarch of the demon clan and the strongest demon monarch of the heavenly demon clan, she had never seen such a powerful sword. Even if it did not collide, it still gave Yin a feeling that she could not compete with it. In fact, as long as he collided with it, he might directly die from the supreme pressure. Whether it's an emperor technique or not, your divine power is only at the middle stage of the god realm. Yin let out a furious roar. The demon god emperor statue immediately attacked. No matter how strong it is, it can't be stronger than my heavenly demon palm and Su Yan's immemorial blood demon seal. Yin roared, and the demon god emperor statue attacked fiercely. The creation star formed by the sky sun also collided violently with the demon celestial emperor statue. Boom! For a moment, the central devil land dimmed, and the sun and moon lost their light. Mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas were all lifted up by the endless aftershocks. It was as if the world was collapsing, and the plates of the earth were shattering as a result. In a battle between true experts, even the existence of the devil world would not be able to withstand it. Mountains transformed into abysses, oceans transformed into raging flames, and even the laws of the great Tao were distorted. The red flames were no longer hot, and the ice was like a spring breeze. This was the battle between the two strongest demon monarchs and Tianyang. Boom! Another loud explosion was heard. This time, it signified that the collision had reached a conclusion. A figure spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. Tianyang. Even though Tianyang had already used the heaven-devouring mystic skill, strengthened his cultivation to the Imperial Emperor realm, and burned his divine power to slash out this sword strike, Tianyang still couldn't do it. He was also unable to withstand the combined attack of Su Yin and Yin Xian, the two strongest devil monarchs of the devil race. After all, even the number one genius of the god world, the Undying Prince, was only on the same level as these two devil race experts after becoming an imperial emperor. An ant tried to shake a tree. You overestimate yourself. Yin Xian wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and sneered as she looked at Tianyang, who had spat out a mouthful of blood and whose robes were torn and sent flying backward. Even though both she and Su Yin had suffered some injuries, the final result was still their victory. He has the blood soul curse. We can't let him escape, Su Yin said. At the same time, streams of demonic blood and demonic aura merged and gathered at his right arm. It was only now that he had the chance to heal his right arm. Of course. Yin Xian smiled gently. When her gaze turned towards Tianyang, who was flying backward, it was filled with endless killing intent. Cut the weeds and remove the roots. In the next moment, Yin Xian's figure shot out explosively. As a member of the devil race, Yin Xian naturally knew better than anyone the importance of cutting the weeds and removing the roots. Boom! Yin Xian's right hand turned into a gigantic demonic aura claw that grew to dozens of feet in size. In order to prevent any unforeseen events from happening before Tianyang died, Yin Xian was not even willing to go near Tianyang. She only hoped to kill Tianyang in the safest situation possible. However, at this moment, the pale-faced Tianyang, who was severely injured and had many broken bones in his body, suddenly opened his eyes. Only one, as expected of the strongest demon lord of the devil race. His vigilance is really strong. However, it doesn't matter. Around Tianyang, the chaos divine laws emitted endless light as the power of chaos exploded. It was not the second-level extension of the original energy, such as divine power or demonic aura. Instead, it was the purest power of chaos from the beginning of all things. Cloud C boundary marker. Tianyang roared furiously. The Cloud C boundary marker that had killed two demon lords and blocked several attacks from demon lord Taotai instantly appeared in front of Tianyang. Boom! With a loud bang, Yin Xian's attack fiercely smashed into the Cloud C boundary stone. This is the boundary marker? Not good. The moment she saw the Cloud C boundary marker, Yin Xian's pupils constricted as she hurriedly retracted her attack. However, how could Tianyang let his preparations fail so easily? The Cloud C boundary marker instantly emitted countless demonic light. Yin Xian's attack hit the center of the Cloud C boundary marker. Then, the most primitive demonic aura on the Cloud C boundary marker that seemed to come from the demon ancestor began to backfire. The demonic aura on Yin Xian's body was forcefully seized by the Cloud C boundary marker in an extremely domineering manner. How could you have a divine supreme treasure like the boundary marker? Yin Xian roared angrily. She used all her strength to try to prevent her demonic aura from being seized by the Cloud C boundary marker. However, there was nothing she could do. Even if they could unleash a trace of a divine supreme's power, they were powerless in front of a true divine supreme treasure, even if it was just a fragment. Blood soul explode die. At this moment, Su Yin suddenly appeared behind Tianyang and punched out. He was going straight for Tianyang. Moreover, he was trying to use the blood soul curse in Tianyang's soul C to kill Tianyang. You're finally here. Seeing this, Tianyang smiled slightly, but he was not affected at all. The Cloud C boundary marker slammed fiercely towards Su Yin. At the same time, a huge suction force erupted from Tianyang's palm and forcefully pulled Yin Xian over. Bang! Su Yin naturally wouldn't be like a weakling like Demon Lord Luo Yin, who was directly slapped to death. However, it was inevitable that his body would stagnate. This stagnation gave Tianyang a chance. With the Chaos God Law as the foundation, and the power of chaos as the bones. Tianyang's surroundings turned into a chaotic world. Not good. Yin Xian and Su Yan's expressions changed drastically at the same time. They used all their strength to try to break free. However, when the chaotic ripples swept past them, they lost all control of their demonic aura. Tianyang stood in the middle of the two of them, holding the cloud sea boundary marker in his hand. A bloody smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Chaos Divine Realm. End of chapter. Chapter 1779. Chaos Divine Realm. Risking the risk of being killed by Su Yan and Yin Xian, Tianyang finally closed the distance between him and the two demon monarchs at the last moment and released this Chaos Divine Realm. Tianyang's entire body was bathed in blood. The flame of chaos burned continuously, frantically repairing Tianyang's body. However, as the immortal bloodline was suppressed by the blood-soul curse, Tianyang couldn't directly recover to his peak state. However, in the Chaos Divine Realm, killing the two strongest demon monarchs in the demon world was not a problem at all. What did you do? Realizing that she had completely lost control of her demonic energy, Yin Xian's expression changed drastically. She had heard of the consequences of suffering a backlash from a boundary stone, but at most, it was a serious injury. Losing the ability to use demonic energy like this was not within the scope of the boundary stone's backlash. You want to know? Tianyang smiled bitterly. Then he put away the cloud sea boundary stone in his hand. Seeing this, Yin Xian and Su Yan were overjoyed. Just as they were about to erupt with demonic energy to kill Tianyang, who was already at the end of his rope, they were shocked to discover that, even if the boundary stone disappeared, they couldn't use demonic energy. What kind of small world is this? Yin Xian said in disbelief. I've never seen such a small world. I'm not telling you. In the next moment, Tianyang attacked and cut off Su Yan's head. Right now, he could only use the power of one law of the Chaos Divine Realm. In other words, other than restricting the demonic energy cultivation of these two demon monarchs, they no longer had the ability to use the power of the Chaos Divine Realm. Therefore, he had to end the battle quickly. Su Yan, seeing this, Yin Xian's expression changed drastically, and she rushed out. Even without demonic energy, her physical strength was still in existence that could make all the demon monarchs in the demon world tremble in fear. However, the cloud sea boundary stone appeared in Tianyang's hand again, and he slammed it hard. Yin Xian was directly smashed in the face by the cloud sea boundary stone, and all the demonic energy in her body was devoured by the cloud sea boundary stone. He was severely injured by the steel. Not dead. At this moment, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. His primal chaos immortal body had almost fully recovered. However, there wasn't much time left in the chaotic divine dominion. However, even though Su Yan's head had been chopped off, his life aura hadn't weakened by much. What was going on with this guy? Where's your devil's soul? With a sweep of his divine sense, Tianyang noticed something special about Su Yan. This guy actually doesn't have a devil's soul? That's not right. Did the demonic soul merge with the demonic body? Tianyang reacted instantly and frowned. If that was the case, it would be somewhat difficult to kill Su Yan. However, it was not difficult for Tianyang to kill him. Boom! Tianyang extended his hand and beckoned. Two enormous heaven and earth millstones appeared on Su Yan's body. Just grind him to death. It was all thanks to that black-clothed old man from the 100 territories of the south. If it weren't for him, Tianyang wouldn't have been able to immediately think of this move. You actually... Seeing this, Yin Xian's expression changed drastically. She directly ignited the bloodline of the heavenly demon clan. In that instant, her heavily injured body recovered to its original state and ruthlessly attacked Tianyang. Tianyang didn't need to go through so much trouble to deal with someone like Yin Xian who had a devil soul. He slashed out with the great void sword embryo in his hand. Green lotus surge. Countless green lotuses erupted from the void and directly swallowed Yin Xian. In the next moment, countless green lotus swords erupted from the green lotuses. Boom, 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 boom. Countless sword lights were released from Tianyang's green lotus sword song. In just a few seconds, Xian was killed. Her devil soul was completely destroyed, and she was completely killed. Against a demon who wanted to kill him, no matter how beautiful she was, Tianyang didn't plan to show mercy to her. The Green Lotus Sword was completely released. Even the last trace of Xian was cut into ashes. As for Tianyang, he took a deep breath. The chaotic divine dominion retracted into Tianyang's body like a tide. These two demon monarchs were indeed the two strongest in the demon world. Even his strongest sword move, the creation of a universe, could not withstand the combined attack of the two of them. He almost died. Moreover, these two people didn't let down their guard in the slightest. Not only did they finish him off, they even used long-range attacks to finish him off. If it wasn't for the Cloud Sea Demon Monarch giving Tianyang such a great treasure like the Cloud Sea Boundary Stone, Tianyang might have really died here. This Su Yin is really difficult to kill. Tianyang looked at Su Yin, who had not completely died in the Primal Chaos Millstone, and sighed. Looks like I can only wait. Tianyang sank into the ground and closed his eyes. He circulated the divine desolate heavenly spirit technique and continuously devoured demonic qi to recover. A few days later, even though Tianyang's primal chaos divine law had vaguely stepped into the ultimate god realm, it was not easy to kill Su Yin, who was abnormally strong and had fused his devil soul into his devil body, becoming a soulless person. After several days, Su Yin's body and soul were completely destroyed, and she died. The two strongest demon monarchs of the demon race. Soulless Su Yin and heavenly demon Xian. Dead. It's a pity that after the Chaos Divine Realm banned their demonic qi, they couldn't continue to leave behind their demonic qi. Otherwise, the Sky Sword could have stepped into the upper divine rank. Tianyang sighed and then went deep into his soul sea. Even after killing Su Yin and Xian, the blood soul curse at the edge of his soul sea still showed no signs of disappearing. The divine soul little person's figure flashed and arrived at the edge of the soul sea, looking at the blood soul curse. 327. It feels like I'm going to kill all the demon gods. Tianyang muttered to himself. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The number 327 on the blood soul curse suddenly turned into a ray of bloodlight. In the next moment, the number began to rise crazily. 350, 400, 450, 500. When it reached 500, the blood soul curse instantly released rays of scarlet and dazzling bloodlight. An extremely tyrannical demon soul attack erupted from the blood soul curse. It turned into a spear and ruthlessly pierced through the barrier of Tianyang's soul sea. At the same time, the immortal bloodline in his body boiled. Rays of demonic blood flames burned in Tianyang's blood. Tianyang knew almost nothing about the blood soul curse. Not only did he not know that he was under the highest level of the blood soul curse, but all the demon gods and demon monarchs in the demon world could see and chase after him. He also did not know that once he killed the strongest demon monarch, the number on the blood soul curse would directly reach the peak of 500. He also did not know that when it reached 500, the blood soul curse would completely disintegrate, and, at the cost of himself, it would erupt with a demon soul attack that was enough to completely annihilate all cultivators below the god venerable level. End of chapter. Chapter 1780. A blood-red spear pierced through Tianyang's soul barrier and headed straight for Tianyang's soul origin. A demonic blood-red color was engraved on the spear along with a series of complicated and mysterious runes. Historically, most of the people who were cursed by the blood soul curse had died in the endless pursuit. Even when the blood soul curse was just created, during the war between the divine world and the devil world, there were very few people in the divine world who could kill 500 demon gods while being cursed by the blood soul curse. Most of them were killed by the experts of the devil world before that. There were very few times when the blood soul curse broke out completely, and it was only activated after the death of the strongest demon king in the devil world. Every time the blood soul curse broke out completely, it meant that an expert had died in the hands of the blood soul curse. This was because once the blood soul curse broke out completely, the killing rate was 100%. The combined power of 500 demon gods was directly applied to the Sea of Souls. Even those extremely powerful demon monarchs wouldn't dare to say that they could resist it. In fact, it would be better to say that it was impossible to block it. Boom! Tianyang's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly mobilized all the strength of his godly soul in an attempt to block the attack. Previously, he was puzzled. Demon King Tao Tai sacrificed his life to unleash the final attack. Was it only used to mark the entire devil world and suppress the immortal bloodline? If that was the case, he would be letting down an expert like Demon King Tao Tai. Now, it seemed that it was more than letting down. It was even letting down the more than 300 demon gods who had died in Tianyang's hands. Not to mention that the Blood Soul Curse suppressed the immortal bloodline and prevented Tianyang from using the immortal soul. Even if Tianyang used the immortal soul, Tianyang did not dare to guarantee that he could survive this level of demonic soul attack with the help of the immortal soul. This blood-red spear had already broken the upper limit of godly soul attack that Tianyang knew. It was almost a 100% sure kill. Boom! With a loud bang, the Tsang Emperor's sword shot out from the depths of Tianyang's soul sea. As a broken sword of an unparalleled existence in the primordial age, the Tsang Emperor's sword still had terrifying power even though only the tip of the sword was left. Boom! The spear and the Tsang Emperor's sword collided violently. The blood-red spear, which was born with absolute dominance, had destroyed Tianyang's soul defense, was about to kill Tianyang, finally slowed down at this moment. Even the blood-red spear was unable to penetrate the sword. However, no matter how strong the Emperor's sword was, the curse was not for the Blood Soul Curse, was so. The stalemate lasted for less than a second before the Crimson Spear broke through the Tsang Emperor's sword's blockade and headed straight for Tianyang's divine soul origin. God! In the Soul Sea, Tianyang's godly soul avatar's face changed drastically. He continuously gathered all kinds of godly soul attacks in an attempt to stop the blood-red spear from breaking through. However, those godly soul attacks, including the godly soul attacks that were close to Emperor techniques from the Immortal Empire's inheritance, had no effect on the blood-red spear. It was like snow meeting fire, instantly melting into nothingness. Boom! Seeing that the blood-red spear was about to break through all of Tianyang's defenses, Tianyang's final trump card, the Heavenly Sword, finally moved. Boom! With a loud bang, it collided violently with the blood-red spear. Instantly, the speed of the blood-red spear was greatly reduced. However, due to the distance between it and Tianyang's soul origin, the reduced speed was still fatal. The most fatal thing was that there was still the supreme god power left behind by the Immortal Empire's master along the way. God damn it! Tianyang gritted his teeth. Sure enough, his luck was too good. Now, through the blood-red spear, he had returned all of it, even with the Heavenly Sword blocking with all its strength. The blood-red spear's momentum did not stop at all. No matter how slow it was, it still continued to attack Tianyang's soul origin. Heavenly Emperor's Sword, Tianyang shouted in a low voice. The Heavenly Emperor's Sword automatically flew back and collided with the blood-red spear again. However, it was just a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. God damn it! Tianyang exploded with all his strength. The surrounding demonic chi also crazily surged toward Tianyang. The current Heavenly Sword no longer had the ability to continue transforming the demonic chi into heaven and earth spiritual chi for Tianyang to devour. Tianyang could only use the power of chaos to forcefully assimilate it. However, the Imperial Emperor cultivation brought by the heaven-devouring secret technique was about to dissipate. At that time, Tianyang would be even more unable to block the blood-red spear. This method is really amazing. Even though his life was in unprecedented danger, Tianyang could not help but exclaim in admiration. If he could not win, he could use his life to set up the Blood Soul Curse. This was the first layer of protection. The Blood Soul Curse would attract countless experts to come and kill him. This was the second killing move. If even so many experts of the same level could not kill this person, then, after a certain number of experts, the Blood Soul Curse would turn into the third killing move and completely kill him. The three killing moves were one after another. In theory, once one was hit by the Blood Soul Curse, they could either completely escape from the demon realm and never step into the demon realm again, or they could only die. This kind of precise method was enough to make Tianyang exclaim in admiration. However, at this moment, boom, Tianyang's Imperial Emperor cultivation finally reached the time limit. His cultivation fell to the peak of the late stage of the God Realm. The power used to block the blood-red spear in Tianyang's soul C also weakened at this moment. Boom! In the next moment, Tianyang's pupils contracted. The blood-red spear directly repelled the heavenly sword and the Tsang Sky Emperor sword. With a terrifying speed, it charged toward the soul origin. The immortal bloodline was suppressed, and the immortal soul could not be used. If Tianyang's soul origin was broken, then he would really die. I can only use this move. Tianyang roared. Then, a pitch-black stone tablet suddenly appeared in Tianyang's soul C. The Cloud C boundary tablet, the fragment of the primordial divine treasure used by the demon clan to guard the last border of the central demon land. It might have come from the demon ancestors' primordial demonic aura, which could be used to deal with Yin Xian and the Taotai demon lord. It should be able to block the blood-red spear. Boom! When the Cloud C boundary tablet appeared in Tianyang's soul C, Tianyang felt that his divine power was being crazily devoured. However, the primordial demonic aura on the Cloud C boundary tablet also erupted. Endless darkness enveloped Tianyang's soul C. Only the blood-red spear was still shining with a violent blood red. Boom! The blood-red spear fiercely bombarded the Cloud C boundary tablet. Then it suddenly stopped. End of chapter. Chapter 1781. I made the right bet. Tianyang shouted when he saw it. The Cloud C boundary marker had the ability to restrain all demonic techniques under the primordial demonic aura. Even the Scarlet Spear, which was condensed from the life force of hundreds of demon gods and had the supreme power to kill anything below the ultimate god level, was no exception. However, the Cloud C boundary marker also caused great damage to Tianyang Sea of Soul. The Cloud C boundary marker only existed for a second, but Tianyang felt that 1% of his chaotic divine power had been absorbed. Even after stabilizing, the Cloud C boundary marker did not absorb so much chaotic divine power, but it still consumed nearly 1,000th of it per second. If the Sky Cloud Sword could not convert demonic aura to replenish the chaotic divine power consumed by Tianyang, Tianyang's lifespan had only been extended by a few hundred seconds. No, the Cloud C boundary marker can't stop the Scarlet Spear. At this moment, Tianyang suddenly realized that something was wrong with the Scarlet Spear. It seemed that under the Cloud C boundary marker's resistance, the Scarlet Spear had stopped and could no longer cause any damage. However, it was still moving forward at an extremely small and imperceptible speed. The speed was so small that Tianyang did not notice it if he did not pay attention. However, it still existed. The Cloud C boundary marker can't stop it. Tianyang's expression changed dramatically. At this speed, the Scarlet Spear would pierce through his divine soul origin. In less than a month, although it was countless times better than just living for a few hundred seconds, it was not the result Tianyang wanted. It seems that this is the only way. Central demonic soil, beside the heavenly demonic pillar. An old man in a white robe with an indifferent expression looked into the distance, then turned and left. However, even next to the heavenly demonic pillar was the largest city in the central demonic soil. It was bustling with people coming and going, but no one noticed the old man in the white robe. It was as if the old man in the white robe did not exist. If someone could see the old man's face, their expression would change drastically and be extremely shocked. This old man was the overlord of the central demonic soil, Hundred Eyes Emperor. In the demon realm, the four great demon kingdoms had sovereigns at the sovereign realm, while the central demon land had a legendary demon ancestor. However, the number of emperors in the four great demon kingdoms was fixed. As for how many emperors there were in the central demon land, no one knew. The hundred-eyed sovereign was the only sovereign in the central devil lands other than the devil lord who only existed in legends. Never would I have thought that there would still be someone capable of causing the blood soul curse to completely erupt even after so much time had passed since the last great divine demon war. The white-robed old man, the hundred-eyed emperor, sighed and muttered to himself, "And now, there is no need for me to do anything." Unfortunately, Su Yin and Yin Xian were too impulsive and actually died at the hands of the person who possessed the blood soul curse. As the strongest young demon lord of my race, this is truly a great loss. Hundred-eyed Emperor shook his head. The hundred-eyed emperor was known as the hundred-eyed emperor, but it wasn't because it had 100 eyes. Instead, the power of this person's demonic soul had already reached a strange level. The scan of a demonic soul was comparable to the attack of a godly master, and it could even distort the laws of space and time. Even if the hundred-eyed emperor's physical body was extremely weak and was only at the level of a saint, his extremely powerful demonic soul was enough to allow him to sense the existence of a sneak attack before it happened. A single spiritual energy attack was enough to finish off all the opponents. This was the central demon land that even the emperors of the 4 great demon kingdoms were extremely afraid of, the hundred-eyed emperor. Previously, when Su Yin and Yin Xian joined forces to fight against Tianyang, he had seen it all. However, he did not save Su Yin, who had been crushed to death by Tianyang for a few days. After being severely injured to such an extent, even if he was saved, Su Yin could no longer be the strongest demon lord of the demon race. Integrating the demonic soul into the physical body seemed extremely strange and powerful. But in fact, there was an extremely fatal flaw. Attacking the physical body was equivalent to attacking the soul. When Su Yan's demon qi was suppressed by Tianyang, and Su Yin could only rely on his physical strength to fight, Hundred-Eyed Emperor understood that Su Yin was already dead. Now, he did not need to continue to eliminate the root of the problem. As the creator of the Blood Soul Curse, Hundred-Eyed Emperor naturally knew very well. After the Blood Soul Curse was completely unleashed, the attack released was terrifying. All demon gods and demon lords, there is no need to continue to attack the person with the Blood Soul Curse. This person is already dead. You mean you don't know where the other boundary stones are? Tianyang frowned slightly, looking at the first demon god to fall into Tianyang's hands after Su Yan's death. For some reason, after Su Yin died in his hands, fewer and fewer demon gods came to seek death. Logically speaking, the news of Su Yan's death should not have spread out yet. Tianyang waited for a long time before this guy came. Finding the boundary stones was the only way for Tianyang to completely eliminate the hidden danger of the Scarlet Spear. One boundary stone in the cloud, C could suppress the Scarlet Spear to only a trace of its speed. If there were 2 boundary stones, or even 4 or 5, wouldn't they be able to suppress the Scarlet Spear until nothing was left? Therefore, Tianyang caught a demon god and directly interrogated him. However, that demon god was at a loss, even worse than Demon Lord Cloud C. At least Demon Lord Cloud C knew about the existence of the boundary stones, but this demon god directly treated them as a legend of the demon realm. I heard that boundary stones attract each other. If you have one, you might be able to find the other boundary stones. How would that demon god know that Tianyang was so strong that he could kill him with one hand? Faced with Tianyang's interrogation, he could only speak his guess with fear and trepidation. Attract each other? Hearing this, Tianyang frowned. Then, he quickly released his spirit perception. With the Cloud Sea boundary stone and his soul sea as the core, he searched in all directions for the resonance. Looks like it's true. Tianyang nodded slightly. At the limit of his spirit perception, he could vaguely sense a few weak fluctuations. Then, I'll let you go. Tianyang casually threw the demon god out like a sandbag by Tianyang. Then, Tianyang soared into the sky and charged toward the nearest boundary stone. Who dares to approach my sex treasure, the boundary stone? Die. At the edge of the central demon land, in a sect with a peak mid-stage demon god overseeing it. Tianyang was unimpeded all the way. He easily broke the seal outside the boundary stone and took it away. Boundary stone. Seeing this, countless demon supremacies and demon saints shouted. However, Tianyang was too lazy to talk to them. He did not kill a single demon, which was already giving them face. One of the 4 great demon kingdoms, the Eastern Demon Kingdom. Tianyang waved his hand, and a strong gust of wind broke the protective formation. With a sweep of his hand, he took away the treasure inside. The panicking demon god was shocked to find that although his sect's treasure had been taken away. However, other than the protective formation, there was not much damage. The Western Demon Kingdom, the Southern Demon Kingdom, the boundaries of the Central Demon Land in ancient times were not as orderly as the current demon realm. It perfectly occupied the center of the demon realm. Therefore, Tianyang had to go to other demon kingdoms to get the other boundary stones. However, the boundary stone was only a fragment of an ultimate god's treasure with great symbolic significance to the demon race. It was useless in battle. At most, it could absorb all the demon chi of the demon race who wanted to use it in battle before they attacked. Therefore, Tianyang was unimpeded all the way and directly took 80 boundary stones. 81. Looks like there's only one left. Tianyang raised his head and looked at the giant palace suspended in the sky. It looked down on the world and suppressed the sky. Where's the last boundary stone? The demon realm is equivalent to the snow goddess's faction. Heavenly King Palace. End of chapter. Chapter 1782. Heavenly King Palace. It was true that Su Yin and Yin Xian were the strongest demon monarchs in the demon realm, but there were others who were stronger than them. Even one Cloud Sea boundary stone was enough to suppress the Scarlet Spear in Tianyang's Soul Sea, leaving only a little bit of speed. 10 boundary stones were enough to completely suppress Tianyang's Scarlet Spear. However, Tianyang had a premonition that something was going to happen. If he could gather all 81 boundary stones and gather all the God Supreme treasure from the Archean era, it would definitely be of great help to the future. However, in the Heavenly King Palace, the strongest expert was the half-step ultimate god known as Heavenly King Hanshi. Tianyang estimated that he was equivalent to Emperor Congwu and much stronger than Goddess Shui. However, Tianyang was not afraid. Not to mention, after possessing the chaotic divine realm, Tianyang was completely confident that he could drag the half-step ultimate god down to the same level as him or even weaker than him. Now, Tianyang had even created the second sword of the heaven-opening swordsmanship, creation of the universe. If all 80 boundary stones were used at the same time, Tianyang did not believe that he could not defeat a half-step ultimate god. Boom! With a loud bang, 2 figures suddenly shot out from the Heavenly King Palace. In just a moment, they were in front of Tianyang. Tianyang's expression did not change. Although the 2 figures were fast, their cultivation level was only around the early stage of the demon god realm. They were not a threat to Tianyang at all. Are you the human from the divine realm who bears the blood soul curse? The demon god on the left spoke, and the demon god on the right finished his sentence the moment the demon god on the left finished his sentence. Heavenly King Hanshi invites you. Then, the 2 demon gods rose into the air and flew toward the Heavenly King Palace that was suspended above the demon realm. Seeing this, Tianyang was stunned. He had the blood soul curse, so it was not surprising that the Heavenly King Palace knew his whereabouts long ago. However, what was this invitation all about? Could it be that Heavenly King Hanshi was a traitor from the god realm who had been hiding in the devil realm for many years? Now that he met a human from the god realm, he had to treat him well. Of course, this was just Tianyang's random thought. However, being able to enter the Heavenly King Palace without making a move was exactly what Tianyang wanted. Casting the Boundless Secret skill, he appeared above the Heavenly King Palace in an instant. When the 2 demon gods saw Tianyang suddenly appear in front of them, they were shocked by Tianyang's speed. Then Tianyang smiled. Where is Heavenly King Hanshi? It's inside, the 2 demon gods said. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded slightly and flew in. Now, he had 80 boundary steels in his small world. Every boundary steel was similar to the Cloud Sea boundary steel. They contained primordial demonic chi that came from the primordial times. Even if Heavenly King Hanshi had set up a formation, it would be crushed by the 80 boundary steels. As expected of the human from the god realm, who killed more than 300 of my demon gods and attracted the attention of Lord Hundred-Eyed Emperor. You know that I'm tricking you, but you still dare to come in. Heavenly King Hanshi's powerful voice sounded. Tianyang's figure flashed. He directly entered the center of the Heavenly King Palace where Heavenly King Hanshi was. As soon as Tianyang entered, he saw Heavenly King Hanshi sitting on the throne. His whole body exuded a powerful aura that was above a demon king and below an overlord. His face was old, and he was wearing a golden armor. Strands of purplish-black demonic chi surrounded his body. It was different from the grayish-black of ordinary demonic chi. Obviously, this person had walked on a different path from ordinary God Realm cultivators. He was not far from the ultimate God Realm. He was completely different from Goddess Shui, who thought she had found the right path to becoming an ultimate god, but ended up going further and further down the wrong path. Why are you looking for me? Tianyang's face suddenly became serious. Although his divine soul sensed that there was no formation ambush in the Heavenly King Palace. However, Tianyang did not let his guard down. It was just as he'd expected. In terms of cultivation, Heavenly King Hanshi wasn't any weaker than Emperor Tsangwu at his peak. Even if Tianyang wanted to defeat him, he would have to pay a heavy price in the battle with Su Yanyixian. I'm very curious. How did you manage to survive half a month after the Hundred-Eyed Emperor gave you a death sentence? Is it because the Blood Soul Curse has lost its effect, or do you have a way to suppress the Blood Soul Curse? Heavenly King Hanshi smiled, and a powerful aura of a half-step ultimate god erupted. The surrounding space started to crack inch by inch. However, the palace, which wasn't made of very tough materials, didn't suffer any damage. Tianyang, who was standing directly opposite Heavenly King Hanshi, bore the brunt of such a powerful aura. However, Tianyang's cultivation was not weaker than the Undying Prince's. Heavenly King Hanshi was strong, but not strong enough to completely suppress the Undying Prince. Naturally, it would not affect Tianyang at all. Half a month ago, the Blood Soul Curse in your body skyrocketed to the level of the strongest Blood Soul Curse that appeared during the war between the Divine World and the Demonic World. However, it was also at that time that you suddenly began to collect boundary steels. You searched the Eastern Demonic Nation, the Western Demonic Nation, and the Southern Demonic Nation. Could it be that the boundary steels are the key to suppressing the Blood Soul Curse? Heavenly King Hanshi asked with interest. That's right. Tianyang nodded. Heavenly King Hanshi must have searched for information about Tianyang if he could reveal so much. Tianyang did not hide his whereabouts along the way, so he could deduce the effect of the boundary steels on the Blood Soul Curse. Denying Heavenly King Hanshi's claim would only make him more disgusted. I don't have all the information, but I can see that you probably have 70 to 80 boundary steels. So, you came to me for the last one, right? Heavenly King Hanshi chuckled. When he realized that his aura had no effect on Tianyang, he took the initiative to withdraw his half-step sovereign realm aura. He waved his hand. A silver light flashed. A pitch-black steel with a dim glow appeared in Heavenly King Hanshi's hand. The aura released from it was exactly the same as the 80 boundary steels in Tianyang's hand. Obviously, this was the last boundary steel that Tianyang wanted. However, Tianyang did not immediately make a move. Instead, he quietly looked at Heavenly King Hanshi. Heavenly King Hanshi's purpose was obviously not to give him benefits. There must be a reason why he suddenly took out the last boundary steel. When all 81 boundary steels are gathered, they can form the primordial Emperor's supreme treasure. Heavenly King Hanshi smiled and threw it casually. The boundary steel flew toward Tianyang. Now, the last boundary steel is yours. End of chapter. Chapter 1783. Now, the last boundary steel is yours. Heavenly King Hanshi threw out the boundary steel with a smile. Tianyong didn't reach out and let the boundary steel fall to the ground. Price, Tianyong said indifferently. It was normal for a demon like Heavenly King Hanshi to have different thoughts from other demons. As long as there were benefits, it didn't matter even if it went against the righteousness of the entire race. This included trading with the human race. But first, Tianyong had to have enough benefits for Heavenly King Hanshi to pay the price of the boundary steel. However, Tianyong was alone in the demon realm and had no power. Although his strength was good, in Heavenly King Hanshi's eyes, Tianyong was already a dead man. A dead man naturally couldn't enter Heavenly King Hanshi's eyes in terms of strength. Price. Heavenly King Hanshi suddenly laughed. That's right. I've given many opportunities to others, but you're the first one to ask about the price before getting the opportunity. Ha ha. As expected of the guy who killed Su Yin and Yin Xian, the two strongest demon kings of the demon race. Not bad, not bad. Heavenly King Hanshi laughed, and in the next moment, his aura suddenly changed. Boom! In an instant, Heavenly King Hanshi's aura changed from that of a half-step sovereign master to that of Emperor Congwu. If Tianyong used all his means, it wasn't impossible to defeat him. But now, no matter how strong a half-step sovereign master was, he was still a half-step sovereign master. A sovereign master was completely beyond a demon god. Now, Heavenly King Hanshi's aura was already in the sovereign master realm. Tianyong's pupils shrank. He never expected that the person in front of him was a sovereign master of the demon race. The boundary steel is not of much use to me. It makes no difference whether I take it or throw it away. Although Heavenly King Hanshi had unleashed his terrifying sovereign master strength, his attitude didn't change much compared to before. Even if his strength was far beyond Tianyong's and he could kill him with one blow, it was still the same. It was as if he was discussing with someone of equal status. Tianyong, on the other hand, reacted quickly after the shock. Why were boundary steels so precious? Because it was a fragment of an Emperor Supreme treasure. It contained an incomparably tyrannical, primordial demon chi. However, this value only applied to forces below the sovereign realm. An Emperor Supreme treasure? As long as it took some time, venerable emperors could create such treasures themselves, and they might even be stronger than these treasures that have been passed down from ancient times to the present. Primeval devil chi? The cultivation of the devil race started from the lowest level of heaven and earth devil chi, and gradually worked their way up to the condensed origin devil chi, then to the Saint Tao devil chi, and finally to the divine Tao law, which was the path of primeval devil chi. For a venerable sovereign, his own demonic chi was almost the same as the primitive demonic chi. Why would he care about a small boundary steel? You're very good, Heavenly King Hanshi said with a smile. I've made this deal with many people in the God realm. I was also involved in the great war of gods and demons. It's a pity that most of the humans in the divine realm can't even take a step forward, much less complete it. I can't. The weakest of them was only a god monarch, and the strongest was even stronger than me back then. But without exception, all of them failed or gave up. Heavenly King Hanshi said. Tianyong's expression changed slightly when he heard that. The devil world didn't know much about the god realm, but if a new ultimate god was born, the devil world would definitely know immediately. It was the same in the god realm. But recently, no venerable emperors had appeared. Heavenly King Hanshi had obviously become a venerable emperor long ago. Heavenly King Hanshi's deal couldn't be completed even by a venerable god? It doesn't matter if you complete this deal or not. You can take this boundary steel away. Heavenly King Hanshi chuckled, then looked at Tianyong. But whether you can do it or not, you have to try. As Heavenly King Hanshi spoke, the power of a venerable emperor shrouded the entire Heavenly King Palace. It was as if he was isolating something. Heavenly King Hanshi's face became serious as he spoke word by word. That is, kill, demon, ancestor. After saying this, Heavenly King Hanshi seemed to have used up all his strength. The tyrannical aura that erupted from his body disappeared without a trace in an instant. It was as if these 4 words had an incomparably terrifying power. However, Tianyang's pupils shrank when he heard this. He fell into shock. Kill the demon ancestor? What did you say? Tianyang repeated in disbelief. Heavenly King Hanshi's expression didn't change when he heard this. He once again returned to his original half-step ultimate god appearance. The arrogant aura from before also disappeared without a trace. I will only say it once. If I say it again, he will sense it. Even if I hide some of my strength, I won't be able to resist in front of him. Heavenly King Hanshi said faintly. I only have this one request. It doesn't matter if you can fulfill it or not. But I have to guarantee that when you gather the boundary steel, you won't use it to do anything that will threaten the demon race. Heavenly King Hanshi said. Tianyang's face froze when he heard this. Heavenly King Hanshi wanted him to kill the demon ancestor, but he didn't want the demon race to be threatened. You don't need to know the reason, but you need me to leave a mark on you. Heavenly King Hanshi said. Then his half-step ultimate god, demonic aura circulated. Tianyang frowned slightly when he heard this. If Heavenly King Hanshi were to attack and unleash his full strength, Tianyang wouldn't have any means to defend himself. However, Tianyang already had a blood soul curse. Another one? The current 80 boundary steels were enough to suppress the blood soul curse. Tianyang only had a premonition that there would be another one. If he had to gamble with his life, Tianyang would rather not. At this moment, Heavenly King Hanshi had already formed the mark. Heavenly King Hanshi was taken aback. The mark that he was about to form suddenly stopped. What's on you? Heavenly King Hanshi said. Then, he seemed to have seen something and laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha. No wonder you're so strong. You're the one chosen by the Tsang Emperor's sword. So, you're this generation's reincarnation Terminator? Ha ha. I've searched high and low for you, only to find you by sheer luck. Heavenly King Hanshi laughed wildly without warning. With a wave of his hand, the mark that he had formed dissipated instantly. I didn't expect that I would actually encounter it. Heavenly King Hanshi laughed wantonly. Tianyang was stunned when he heard this. You're not going to form the mark? Heavenly King Hanshi had said it so solemnly, as if the world would be destroyed if he didn't do so. Now, he suddenly gave up? Of course not. Heavenly King Hanshi chuckled. You're the chosen one. I don't need to leave a mark on you. You'll do it yourself. This last boundary steel is yours. Then, the boundary steel rose into the air and landed in Tianyang's hand. A strong gust of wind blew over, blowing the sun out of the main hall. I'm not in a position to say more about this. If you want to ask your Tsang Emperor's sword. End of chapter. Chapter 1784. If you want to ask about your Tsang Emperor's sword. Heavenly King Hanshi laughed maniacally and blew Tianyang away. He did not give Tianyang any right to stay and ask questions. As for Tianyang, he was stunned. Although Heavenly King Hanshi had only said a few words, the amount of information contained in those few words was frighteningly huge. The person chosen by the Tsang Emperor's sword? He could do it without the mark? What did this mean? However, Heavenly King Hanshi had completely closed the main palace. Tianyang could not enter and ask. Shaking his head, he put the boundary steel in his hands into the chaotic small world. Then, he rose into the air and left. Tianyang could vaguely feel that there was a secret behind his rebirth. In a nameless wilderness in the core demon land, Tianyang set up layers of formations to protect himself. Then he took out the remaining 80 boundary steels, except for the Cloud Sea boundary steel that was suppressing the Scarlet Spear in his Sea of Soul. The 80 boundary steels were exactly the same in shape and size as if they were replicated. They were arranged in front of Tianyang. Even if they were simply placed together, there was still some movement. It was as if these boundary steels were constantly getting closer to each other and then merging together. At this moment, Tianyang closed his eyes. The tiny, godly soul in his Sea of Soul also opened his eyes. In his Sea of Soul, the Scarlet Spear, which was suppressed by the Cloud Sea boundary steel and could only move at a speed of a few millimeters per hour, had almost reached the dangerous limit. It was as if a steel needle was about to pierce through his heart at any moment. It was extremely uncomfortable. After all, similar to what the demon god had said, there was indeed a mutual attraction between the boundary steels. However, this attraction was simply too subtle. It was so subtle that Tianyang had to search several places and attack many sects before he could find a boundary steel. Therefore, it took him nearly a month. Now, according to the initial speed, it would only take 6 hours for the Scarlet Spear to pierce through his soul origin. However, Tianyang was not afraid at all. This was because the Scarlet Spear, which had been able to advance under the suppression of the Cloud Sea boundary steels, had completely come to a halt after Tianyang released all 80 boundary steels. A mere blood soul curse was naturally unable to withstand the pressure of the highest level of primordial devil chi from the primordial era. However, if this ultimate God Supreme treasure were to appear in my sea of soul, I'm afraid it would devour me to death just by devouring my divine soul energy. Tianyang muttered to himself. Although the boundary steel could completely suppress the Scarlet Spear, Tianyang knew very well that the Scarlet Spear could not be destroyed. No matter how strong the boundary steel was, it was still a treasure of the demons. He had only managed to suppress and make use of it by relying on the strength of his chaotic force. If he lost his primal chaos energy, these boundary steels would naturally not be able to help Tianyang deal with the Blood Soul Curse. Instead, they would be the first to turn around and kill him. Therefore, there was only one way for Tianyang to get rid of the Scarlet Spear in a short period of time. Cloud Sea boundary steel, appear, Tianyang shouted in a low voice. Then, rays of light burst out. In his sea of soul, the Cloud Sea boundary steel that had been suppressing the Scarlet Spear and the Blood Soul Curse suddenly disappeared. Then, it appeared in the center of the 80 boundary steels. Boom! Boom! 2 roars sounded at the same time. One was the sound of the Scarlet Spear, which had been bound for a month, finally breaking free and bursting out. The other was the explosion of the primordial devil chi at the Emperor level when the 81 boundary steels finally gathered. Under the sweep of the primordial devil chi, the power of the Scarlet Spear in Tianyang's Sea of Soul was greatly reduced. However, even so, Tianyang did not dare to let the Scarlet Spear pierce through his divine soul origin. Firmament Emperor Sword. Heavenly Firmament Sword. Tianyang shouted angrily. The tip of the sword and the pure, white long sword collided violently. Boom! They merged into a powerful attack and attacked the Scarlet Spear. Hiss! The Scarlet Spear also let out a loud screech. When the Cloud Sea boundary steel that had suppressed it for so long finally disappeared, this Scarlet Spear naturally erupted with an even stronger power than before. However, before the Scarlet Spear could unleash its power, Tianyang had already controlled the Firmament Sword and the Firmament Emperor Sword to bombard the Scarlet Spear. Of course, he did not directly repel the Scarlet Spear. However, what Tianyang wanted was not to repel it. He only needed to slightly change its direction. Under the combined effect of the 81 boundary steels outside, the Scarlet Spear was not immediately suppressed to death. However, it was much easier to change the direction of the Scarlet Spear from before. Boom! The Scarlet Spear was directly changed direction by this impact, narrowly brushing past Tianyang's divine soul origin. Then, it fiercely bombarded Tianyang's Sea of Soul, the divine venerable power left behind by the undead emperor. The scarlet demonic chi and the divine venerable power left behind by the undead emperor clashed. These two were the power left behind by powerful emperors or divine venerables. Now that they had clashed, naturally, no one could do anything to the other. The corner of Tianyang's mouth curled up into a smile. This was his goal. Whether it was the blood soul curse or the divine venerable power of the undead emperor, they were not things that Tianyang could resolve now. Now, with such a good limiter like the boundary steel, Tianyang naturally had to make good use of it, using one spear to attack the other's shield. After only a few seconds of collision, the Scarlet Spear and the divine venerable power had both weakened greatly. Waves of demonic chi were released from the Scarlet Spear. It happened to be directly swallowed by the firmament sword that Tianyang had been waiting by the side, and the divine venerable power was also getting weaker and weaker. Of course, the blood soul curse could only kill those below the divine venerable level. Facing the divine venerable power, it was still a little weak. However, this wasn't a problem. Tianyang only needed to release the suppression of the boundary steel on the Scarlet Spear, and the Scarlet Spear would naturally obediently fight to the death with the divine venerable power. However, this was a long process. Tianyang wasn't in a hurry. He had a premonition. When the divine venerable power was completely resolved, and the demonic chi of the Scarlet Spear was also exhausted, the firmament sword could also completely devour the Scarlet Spear that contained the life force of more than 300 demon gods, including Su Yin and Yin Xian, the two strongest demon emperors of the demon race. With such a huge amount of demonic chi in the blood soul curse, if the firmament sword devoured it, the firmament sword would definitely break through to the high-grade divine rank. When the firmament sword broke through to the high-grade divine rank, it was Tianyang, the day he broke through to the Emperor realm. Chapter 1785. Boom, boom. In Tianyang's Sea of Soul, the collision between the Crimson Spear and the Hierarch Force had reached its final moment. At this moment, Tianyang had completely removed the boundary steel suppression on the Blood Soul Curse. As Tianyang wished, the Blood Soul Curse had directly suppressed the Hierarch Force. The Blood Soul Curse's power was not as vast as the Hierarch Force. However, the Hierarch Force's offensive power was also inferior to the Blood Soul Curse. As the battle continued, it was finally time for the two to perish together. Break for me. Tianyang let out a low roar. Rumbling thunder exploded in his Sea of Soul. Naturally, it would be difficult to resolve the battle quickly with the two forces consuming each other. Now it was time for Tianyang to add fuel to the fire. Boundless divine soul energy erupted from Tianyang's divine soul origin. It was as if a fully armed god of war had suddenly appeared between the two exhausted warriors. Whether it was in terms of speed or strength, he was far superior to the two warriors. Sweeping across the 6 directions, sweeping across the 8 barren lands, the Blood Soul Curse and the Hierarch Force were finally broken. Demon World, Central Demon Land. Beside the heavenly demon pillar, the white-robed old man, 100-eyed sovereign, slowly raised his head and looked into the distance. He held on for nearly 2 months before he completely died. No wonder he was able to eliminate Su Yin and Yin Xian. He's the only one who could hold on for so long after the great divine demon war. 100-eyed sovereign smiled. He could sense that the pillar of blood in the distance had completely disappeared. This was the sign that the Blood Soul Curse had dissipated. In 100-eyed sovereign's opinion, the dissipation of the Blood Soul Curse meant that Tianyang was dead. In that case, the Blood Soul Curse has completed its mission. I can report this to the demon ancestor now. 100-eyed sovereign muttered to himself, and his figure suddenly disappeared. Divine World, Undying Emperor Court. The Hierarch Force I left behind only dissipated now? At the Undying Emperor Hall, the Undying Emperor Hall Lord who was in seclusion woke up. His expression was grave as he shook his head. It doesn't matter. According to my scan, Tianyang is no longer in the God Realm. Apart from the supreme gods of the Divine Realm, only the supreme sovereigns of the Devil Realm can dissolve the power I left behind. The sovereigns of the Demon Realm naturally won't help Tianyang. Now Tianyang is finally dead, the Undying Emperor said faintly. Then he went into seclusion again. Finally, it's broken. In the nameless wilderness of the Central Devil Land, Tianyang looked at the Blood Soul Curse that had completely lost its power and was gradually collapsing under the sweep of his divine soul power. The former was enough to threaten Tianyang's life. If he hadn't found a treasure like the boundary steel, it wouldn't have been enough. Instead, it must be. The latter had been there since the battle with the Undying Emperor, preventing Tianyang from using his full strength. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so troublesome to deal with Su Yin and Yin Xian. It was so tragic that he had to use himself as bait to lure them into the chaotic divine realm. Now, the two of them were finally gone. Tianyang even had the urge to look up to the sky and laugh. However, in the next moment, Tianyang quickly returned to his original state. Although the blood soul curse had disappeared, there was still a lot of demonic qi that wreaked havoc in Tianyang's soul sea. To ordinary people, this demonic qi was equivalent to the 4th level of the blood soul curse. With so much demonic qi wreaking havoc in the soul sea, it was almost fatal to all races except the devil race. However, in Tianyang's eyes, this demonic qi was just the right material for his breakthrough. Devour. Tianyang's eyes lit up as the heavenly sword released waves of Xinguang. Countless demonic qi surged towards the heavenly sword. Such a huge amount of demonic qi, without condensing, was like a dragon without a leader and posed no threat. Therefore, it could only be the perfect dinner for the heavenly sword. Boom! Boom! There was no attack, but there were still explosions in Tianyang's soul sea. On the heavenly sword, the 9-color Xinguang became more and more resplendent. It even surpassed Tianyang's soul sea and surged in all directions. In an instant, it broke through the restrictions of the formation set up by Tianyang. It was as if the heavenly sword had evolved for the first time in the Tianxiao Great World, rushing towards all corners of the devil world. However, it was completely different from the Tianxiao Great World. No matter how big the Tianxiao Great World was, it was far from the size of a devil kingdom in the devil world. However, the 9-color Xinguang released by the heavenly sword could already envelop the entire devil world. This is in the Heavenly King Palace. Heavenly King Hanshi was the first to notice the 9-colored Xinguang that suddenly appeared above his head. His expression changed slightly. Sure enough, that person is the chosen one. I wonder if the person chosen this time around will be able to accomplish that mission. Heavenly King Hanshi sighed and said. Then, next to the heavenly demonic pillar, Hundred-Eyed Emperor's expression changed slightly as he looked at the 9-colored Xinguang that illuminated the sky. Countless demons around him were already shocked to the core. What is this? Did another sovereign break through? Hundred-Eyed Emperor frowned. He did not connect this to the disappearance of the blood soul curse at all. In his eyes, the blood soul curse was invincible to anyone below the sovereign realm. The 9-color Xinguang spread rapidly. Soon, the Eastern Devil Kingdom, the Western Devil Kingdom, the Southern Devil Kingdom, and the Northern Devil Kingdom. The Central Devil Lands and the 4 Devil Kingdoms were all enveloped by the 9-color Xinguang. Even the endless sea of ghosts around the devil world was illuminated by the 9-colored Xinguang. Countless demons were shocked and looked up at the sky. That resplendent light had already shocked them. The Central Devil Lands, the heavenly demonic pillar. The demonic pillar, which had been extremely calm from the beginning to the end, was now trembling slightly. However, no demons noticed the changes in the heavenly demonic pillar. In the nameless wilderness, the heavenly sword had completely devoured the demonic energy contained in the blood soul curse. The 9-color Xinguang was contained within it. The heavenly sword had now completely broken through to the divine level. Tianyang's body was surrounded by strands of divine power. The power of his divine spirit was completely released. It resonated with heaven and earth. Buzz! A strange sound was heard. Around Tianyang, streaks of chaotic light shone. Now is the time. Tianyang's eyes bloomed with Xinguang. The divine power in his body gradually boiled. The immortal fire, which had been suppressed by the blood soul curse for months, burned wildly. The next moment, the divine wilderness heavenly spirit art was activated to the extreme and directly broke through a certain limit. He stepped into the sovereign realm. Chapter 1786. Stepping into the Imperial Emperor realm. The moment Tianyang's aura stepped into the Imperial Emperor realm from the half-step Imperial Emperor realm, the blood-red sun in the sky was instantly enveloped by dark clouds. Even if the Imperial Emperor realm was only a part of the godly realm, it would still attract an incomparably terrifying heavenly tribulation. This was because when the Imperial Emperor broke through, he had to open up his own small world. It would definitely deprive him of a portion of the heavenly Tao's power. Cultivation was to seize the power of the heavens. The heavenly Tao naturally had to kill this person no matter what. However, when I was undergoing the divine tribulation, I had already summoned the primordial 9 emperors again. This time, I shouldn't be so unlucky. I should be able to summon them again. The strength of the primordial emperor's phantom recorded by the world's origin was directly related to the strength of the person who summoned the heavenly tribulation. The stronger Tianyang was, the stronger the primordial emperor in the heavenly tribulation would be. Back when Tianyang stepped into the godly realm, the primordial 9 emperors that he summoned were also at the godly realm. Now, Tianyang had broken through to the imperial emperor realm. If the one he summoned was also at the imperial emperor realm, Tianyang was about to face his third life and death crisis in half a year. Boom, boom. In the sky, a series of loud noises suddenly erupted. Tianyang's expression did not change. The imperial emperor realm divine power surged around him. The chaos color on it flowed with brilliant colors, releasing an incomparably terrifying power. The chaos power that Tianyang could control now was much stronger than when he had just broken through to the godly realm. Moreover, there had been quite a few changes. After the battle with Goddess Shui, and learning about the Tao of breaking through to the godly realm from Emperor Congwu, Tianyang understood. Moreover, he was constantly cultivating to strengthen his divine power. With Tianyang's own understanding of chaos, he had walked out a chaos divine law that was completely different from the heavenly Tao. The current Tianyang was already on the path of a godly realm. The heavenly tribulation that he summoned would probably be stronger than all the previous heavenly tribulations. Boom! A ray of light flashed above the sky. Then, a figure slowly appeared. Is there still an ancient emperor? Seeing this, Tianyang sighed. Even though his chaotic divine power had undergone a qualitative change, he had yet to unleash his full power. It was still not enough to make Tianyang's strength advance by leaps and bounds. However, although Tianyang sighed, it was only a sigh. Streaks of primal chaos divine power condensed and surged like thunder. Endless fighting spirit burned in Tianyang's eyes. No matter how strong the primordial emperors were, Tianyang did not believe that he could not pass. His Tao foundation was the great freedom and great freedom. It was a perfect Tao foundation forged from his will. Now, there was one more thing above the great carefree realm, great invincibility. Invincible in the present, invincible in the past, across the long river of time. Only I am invincible. Boom! Divine power blotted out the sky. At this moment, another figure appeared in the sky beside the original figure. I wonder what kind of primordial demon lord almighty is the primordial demon lord condensed by the world origin of the demon realm. Tianyang laughed loudly. In the next moment, the two figures solidified. Seeing these two figures, Tianyang was stunned. Only two. Moreover, these two people did not release any demonic aura. Instead, it was somewhat similar to divine power. I didn't expect this. At this moment, the man at the side chuckled. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression changed. The primordial emperors could speak. Weren't these just the invincible experts of the primordial age recorded by the world origin? How could they have the intelligence to speak? Other than the green lotus sword deity, who suddenly spoke during the deity's tribulation, none of the 9 emperors of the primordial age that Tianyang had met had this ability. If I knew that you could restore the Tsang Emperor's sword to its current state so quickly, I wouldn't have exhausted the energy of the last sword tip that you found with great difficulty. The man at the side chuckled. At this moment, Tianyang saw the face of the man at the side and was stunned. This is the immortal heavenly lord. Tianyang's pupils contracted as he said in disbelief. Now that he had summoned the Emperor Tribulation in the demonic realm, he had actually summoned the immortal heavenly lord. When he was in the divine world, he had never seen the undying heavenly sovereign. Could it be that the immortal heavenly lord died in the deity's tribulation? What are you thinking? Even in the primordial age, the immortal heavenly Lord who had lived for God knows how many billions of years was still handsome and unrestrained. I'm not dead. If I, the immortal heavenly Lord, were to die, wouldn't it be a big joke? Boom, boom, boom. The immortal heavenly Lord was about to continue speaking when the tribulation cloud in the sky exploded with a loud bang. It directly covered the immortal heavenly Lord's words. So annoying, Scram. The immortal heavenly Lord snorted coldly and waved his hand. The terrifying tribulation that was enough to make thousands of emperors and demonic emperors tremble disappeared just like that. Tianyang was also stunned. He had already prepared himself to die to fight against the tribulation. But in the end, the calamity was over so quickly. Truly unexpected, truly unexpected. Heavens, the person you've chosen this time is actually my bloodline descendant. The immortal heavenly Lord turned his head and said with a smile after destroying the tribulation. At the side, the man who was silent also nodded slightly. Then he shook his head. No, this time he chose me. The immortal heavenly Lord was stunned. At this time, the silent man took a step forward and appeared in front of Tianyang. Tianyang's expression changed instantly. He could trust the undying heavenly venerate, but it wouldn't be easy for him to trust this unknown man. Long time no see, Firmament Emperor's sword. The man looked at Tianyang and sighed. In the next moment, the tip of the Firmament Emperor's sword and the Firmament sword appeared in Tianyang's sea of soul. Looking at the tip of the sword and the Firmament Emperor's sword, the man did not look at them. Instead, he looked at Tianyang. Hello, the reincarnated person who chose the Firmament Emperor's sword. The silent man said calmly and with a hint of sadness. Tianyang was stunned when he heard that. Chose the Firmament Emperor's sword? Tianyang thought back. In the Tianshao Great World, he seemed to have found the Firmament Emperor's sword, and the Firmament Emperor's sword automatically flew to him. Before him, the old Dragon King of the Tianshao Great World and the nine-tailed monster emperor had already found the Firmament Emperor's sword. No matter how he looked at it, the Firmament Emperor's sword had chosen him. At this time, the tip of the Firmament Emperor's sword began to move. It seemed to have broken free from Tianyang's control and was about to fly to the man. At this time, the man spoke again. I am the former owner of the Firmament Emperor's sword. My name is Firmament Emperor. Chapter 1787. His name is Firmament God King. The man spoke slowly. Tianyang's pupils constricted when he heard that. He was the owner of the Firmament Emperor's sword. When Tianyang first came into contact with the tip of the Firmament Emperor's sword, he understood a part of the memory. The Firmament Emperor's sword had been dragged into the origin of Tianshao Great World when the Tianshao Great World was first born. Even so, the Firmament Emperor's sword had not been damaged at all. In fact, the Firmament Emperor's sword had changed the martial arts of the Tianshao Great World. As Tianyang's cultivation grew stronger, he witnessed more and more great destruction of civilizations. Just like the Tianshao Great World, the original martial arts system had disappeared after the great destruction of civilizations. However, the Tianshao Great World was the only one that gave birth to an unprecedented martial soul. The Tianshao Great World was much weaker than the Earth Spirit Great World and the Xintian Great World. The only special thing about the Tianshao Great World was the Firmament Emperor's sword in the origin of the world. It was because of the Firmament Emperor's sword that the martial arts civilization of the Tianshao Great World was not completely destroyed after the extinction of martial arts. Instead, a new martial arts system had appeared in time. Martial soul. However, the man in front of him did not have any martial soul aura. I know what you're wondering. At this moment, the man spoke again. He looked calm and waved his hand. The tip of the Firmament Emperor's sword instantly broke free from Tianyang's control and fell into the Firmament God King's hand. However, what shocked Tianyang was that even the Firmament sword seemed to be flying towards the Firmament God King. However, more of it seemed to be staying by Tianyang's side. It seems that only the tip of my Firmament Emperor's sword is left. Seeing this, the man smiled. Your Firmament Emperor's sword? Tianyang was stunned when he heard this. Then he reacted quickly. Even the firmament sword. Tianyang had always wondered why the Heaven Cloud sword was only an ordinary sword embryo that Tianyang had forged in his previous life. In the beginning, it was not even comparable to the lowest grade of prized artifact. It only had the ability to devour weapons. How did it become so powerful after becoming a martial spirit? That's right. That's why I said you chose the Song Emperor sword. Supreme Being of Firmament nodded slightly and said, "Back then, when you encountered the prelude to the epic calamity, you should have died with your soul shattered. With the strength of a mere Heaven Ascension realm expert, it was practically impossible for you to withstand a calamity of that level. Thus, you didn't even manage to block a few attacks before you died. However, at the very last moment, your sword suddenly shot into the origin source of the Tianxiao Great World and found that Song Sky, the archsword that was sealed within. Upon hearing this, Tianyang was stunned. The heavenly sword saved my life. Tianyang had always wondered if there was something strange about his rebirth. Thus, he had always been suspicious. Now, Supreme Being of Firmament seemed to be able to explain the complete reason for his rebirth. However, Tianyang was still puzzled. The Heaven Cloud sword was only a supreme spiritual weapon back then. How could it have the power to enter the origin source of the Tianxiao Great World? What if it is the origin source of the Tianxiao Great World? The immortal Heavenly Lord smiled and said, "Firmament is a very boring guy. You'll probably have to ask him hundreds of times before he can answer. So, let me answer you." The immortal Heavenly Lord smiled and said, "To be honest, the sword that you forged was not at all skilled in forging weapons. When we're trying to find out why the Song Sky, the archsword, was with you, Firmament, and I used time reversal and happened to see the process of you forging the Heaven Cloud sword. I don't know how Firmament feels, but when I saw you forging weapons, my eyes were burned to death. You poured all the materials into it, and it was gone." The immortal Heavenly Lord laughed. Upon hearing this, Tianyang's mouth twitched. That was true. He did not know anything about the art of forging weapons. The reason he forged the Heaven Cloud sword was purely on a whim. He did not expect that his careless forging would result in the Heaven Cloud sword that had accompanied him for 2 lifetimes. Still, it's a blessing in disguise. You used all sorts of materials, and it just so happens that you included all the extraordinary materials in the Sky Firmament Great World. When these materials fused with each other, it was equivalent to you fusing every corner of the Tianxiao Great World. You directly forged the Heaven Cloud sword that contained a trace of the origin source of the Tianxiao Great World. The immortal Heavenly Lord smacked his lips and said, "Although this kind of origin source is not rare, you're really lucky." It was this trace of origin source that allowed the Heaven Cloud sword to rush into the origin source of the Tianxiao Great World and awaken the Song Sky, the archsword, when it was about to be destroyed. Then it fused with most of its Song Sky, the archsword. Then it tore the space-time apart. Congratulations, you've been resurrected. Undying Heavenly Sovereign laughed heartily, while Heavenly Sun fell into a state of utter shock. So, his resurrection. It was not destined, nor was it controlled by someone. Instead, it was called upon by someone. The Heaven Cloud sword that he forged by accident happened to contain a trace of origin source. So, he fused with its Song Sky, the archsword, at the last moment and successfully saved himself. However, the remaining sword tip could not be fused with the origin source of the small world, so it could only be left there. However, it has been awakened. Thanks to you awakening the Song Sky, the archsword, the martial arts of the Tianxiao Great World was not destroyed. The immortal Heavenly Lord smiled and said, "Congratulations, you've saved the world." As for Tianyang, he was in utter disbelief. Back then, he had only succeeded in forging it by chance. It was an extremely ordinary thing at the beginning, but it had caused such a huge consequence. So, when the catastrophe of this era came, we should have chosen another person to end the cycle of reincarnation. The God King of Firmament said, "Now, it has fallen into your hands." Hearing this, Tianyang frowned slightly. "So what do I have to do?" "It's the same as what you have to do," the God King of Firmament said. The one who will kill you will be called the Great Destruction of Civilization. In our opinion, it has another name. This name will be changed to the Epic Catastrophe. The Great Destruction of Civilization that you have encountered is just the prelude to the Epic Catastrophe. The God King of Firmament said, "The real Epic Catastrophe will affect the divine world, the demonic world, the Tianxiao Great World, and the Xintian Great World. It will be a terrible disaster that will completely destroy everything." Hearing this, Tianyan's expression changed slightly, including the divine world and the demonic world. Previously, traces of the Great Destruction of Civilization could be found in the Xintian Great World and the Tianxiao Great World. However, it did not happen in the divine world. He thought that the divine world would be spared, but he did not expect that the Great Destruction of Civilization was just the prelude to the Epic Catastrophe. The real Epic Catastrophe was a terrible catastrophe that would destroy all the worlds in the universe. What you have to do is to find the real culprit of the Great Destruction of Civilization. As for us, we are going to kill the leader of the Epic Calamity and the cycle of reincarnation that has existed since the ancient times. Chapter 1788. In the cycle of reincarnation from the primordial age, Supreme Being of Firmament and Undying Heavenly Master said at the same time, "The Epic Catastrophe has a period of time. It will happen once every 1 billion years. The closer it is to the Epic Catastrophe, the more likely it will happen in the small worlds. That is what you call the Great Destruction of Civilizations. Because 1 billion years is an epic. That is why it is called the Epic Catastrophe." Supreme Being of Firmament was excited for a moment before he returned to his original gloomy state. So what is the strength of the culprit behind the Epic Catastrophe? Tianyang asked. His heart suddenly felt a lot heavier. He recalled the reason why Heavenly King Hanshi did not leave a mark on him. Now he understood why. He had the Tsang Emperor Sword. In the eyes of those in the know, he was chosen by the Tsang Emperor Sword to end the cycle of reincarnation. Heavenly King Hanshi seemed to want to end everything. That was why he gave Tianyang the last boundary steel, allowing Tianyang to gather the 81 boundary steels. Stronger than all of us, Undying Heavenly Master said with a smile. Supreme Being of Firmament nodded his head. Tianyang's eyes narrowed. Stronger than Undying Heavenly Master and Supreme Being of Firmament? Tianyang did not know much about Supreme Being of Firmament strength. However, Tianyang had seen Undying Heavenly Master in action several times. The first time, he died at the hands of the Demon Emperor. Undying Heavenly Master was able to reignite the Undying Divine Flame and defeat the Demon Emperor. The second time, Tianyang used his Undying Will to defeat the Undying Divine Flame easily. The third time, he was able to block the Undying Emperor's furious attack. Moreover, he did not even use his own strength. He was already so strong without using his full strength. What about the primordial age? He could even create another divine world with his full strength. I could still fight him in the primordial age. Now, he is getting stronger and stronger. I can only place my hopes on the person chosen by the Tsang Heaven Emperor Sword. Therefore, I cannot fight against him at all. The Undying Heavenly Lord shrugged. The person who ended the cycle of reincarnation in the previous generation has already cultivated to the same level as us, the peak of the ultimate God realm. However, in front of him, it only weakened the might of the Epic Catastrophe. It is also because of this that there are so many flourishing worlds left in this world. The Undying Heavenly Lord smiled and said, 2 generations ago, about 2 billion years ago, the myriad worlds had yet to split to this extent. The God realm is also much larger than it is now. That person who ended the cycle of reincarnation has even surpassed Green Lotus Sword Immortal and the others in certain aspects. He is on par with us. In front of him, I'm still dead. What I've left behind is still the weakened might of the Epic Catastrophe. The generation before that, and the generation before that, it was the same. It has only been 10 billion years since the birth of the myriad worlds. He used 1 billion years to cultivate to the unrivaled realm before initiating the epic calamity. Now, he has already done it 9 times. 9 generations of people who ended the cycle of reincarnation have all failed and died without a burial place. Originally, you should have met 18 of the immemorial 9 emperors. 9 of them are already dead. Even the traces of their existence have been erased by him. Whether it's the Tianxiao Great World, the God Realm, or the Demon Realm's world origin, none of them can remember their divine might. However, it is precisely because they have weakened the might of each epic catastrophe that the myriad worlds have been able to survive until now. The undying Heavenly Lord said. Tianyang's pupils contracted and his voice trembled when he heard that. If there is even one mistake, the myriad worlds will be completely destroyed. The undying Heavenly Lord said faintly. Tianyang stopped breathing, and his heart seemed to have skipped a beat when he heard that. The myriad worlds, countless martial arts civilizations had prospered and flourished, but all of them were hanging on a deadline that could lead to complete destruction if one person failed. What was his name? Tianyang couldn't help but ask. The king of ultimate gods, the demon lord, Mo Wushuang. The firmament divine king opened his mouth, and his eyes were burning with battle intent. 9 of the 18 supreme ultimate gods who killed themselves back then have fallen. Even the 2 of us who have fought against the godly monarchs for 9 eras will fail sooner or later. However, as long as we still have a breath left, the myriad worlds will never be destroyed. The firmament divine king roared. His roar seemed to have caused the myriad worlds to tremble. The stars flickered, the sun shook, and the moon collapsed. Even the demon realm could not withstand the firmament divine king's anger. This was the strongest existence among the Archean emperors, the firmament divine king. I understand. Tianyang nodded heavily. At this moment, the firmament divine king waved his right hand. The firmament emperor's sword's tip and the Tianyun sword fell into the firmament divine king's hands. The Tianyun sword could only integrate 80% of the firmament emperor sword's world origin energy. Now that you have successfully found all of them, let me help you integrate them completely. The firmament divine king smiled. In this case, your firmament emperor sword will disappear completely. The undying Heavenly Lord said. It doesn't matter. The previous 9 generations were all ultimate gods from the Archean era. Only you. You are from the present world. The firmament divine king said, if you succeed, you will end the reincarnation of countless epochs, and the firmament emperor sword will lose its meaning to exist. If you fail, he will only become stronger and stronger. The firmament emperor sword will be useless. Therefore, you bear the fate of the myriad worlds. In the next moment, the sword tip and the long sword in the firmament divine king's hand merged together. This Tsang Emperor sword has been completely refined by you. The firmament divine king smiled. The Tianyun sword in his right hand continued to resist and tried to return to Tianyang's hand. In that case, I will make you complete. The firmament divine king gathered divine power in his hand, and the firmament emperor sword's tip was completely integrated into the Tianyun sword. Boom! On the Tianyun sword, streaks of 9-colored xinguang burst out. However, the 9-colored xinguang that shrouded the entire demon realm suddenly disappeared. All of it merged into the Tianyun sword. At this moment, Tianyang's cultivation, after breaking through to the emperor realm, his cultivation soared again. Boom, boom, boom. Tianyang's body boomed loudly. The early-stage emperor realm was instantly stepped on by Tianyang. Then, it was the middle-stage emperor realm, the late-stage emperor realm, and the peak emperor realm. He was only a step away from the ultimate god realm. At the same time, the 9-colored xinguang on the Tianyun sword gradually carved strange runes. The firmament emperor sword is an ultimate god realm treasure. No, a king god realm treasure. You have raised the Tianyun sword's martial soul to the upper divine level, and it is close to the peak. But in the end, the sword soul of the firmament emperor sword was in the hands of the demon ancestor. Before you fight Mo Wushuang, the demon ancestor is your opponent. The name of the final boss finally appeared. It would probably end next month. End of chapter. Chapter 1789. Your opponent is the demon ancestor. After leaving these last words, the figures of the firmament god king and the immortal heavenly lord gradually disappeared. The reason why they appeared was that Tianyang had stepped into the imperial emperor realm and attracted the imperial emperor tribulation. The imperial emperor tribulation had long been destroyed by them. The remaining strength had supported their existence until now, and that was already the limit. Watching the two disappear, Tianyang sighed softly. He knew that the firmament god king and the immortal heavenly lord were not dead yet. They would definitely not die before the end of the era reincarnation. No wonder Heavenly King Hanshi also asked me to kill the demon ancestor. The firmament emperor sword soul is in the hands of the demon ancestor? Tianyang muttered to himself. On the heavenly sword in his hand, the nine-colored Xinguang gradually withdrew into the sword body, revealing only a pure white and ordinary sword body. However, Tianyang knew very well. Although the current heavenly sword's martial soul was still superior divine level, Tianyang knew very well. The current heavenly sword was definitely much stronger than before. The peak of the imperial emperor realm, Tianyang sighed. Then he put the heavenly sword into his soul sea. Before the immortal heavenly lord left last time, he asked me to ask Tianji. There are still many questions left. However, it's still unknown if a peak imperial emperor realm cultivator wants to deal with a divine master. After knowing the truth of the civilization's great destruction, Tianyang felt a sense of pressure in his heart. Then, Tianyang put away his thoughts. He looked at the 81 boundary stones beside him. The boundary stones were created by the demon ancestor. Later, they were broken into 81 pieces and scattered at the edge of the central devil land in the ancient times. It was said that when the 81 pieces were gathered together, they would fuse into the divine master supreme treasure that the demon ancestor had just refined. But now, although the 81 boundary stones were arranged together, they were only getting closer to each other. As for fusing into a divine master supreme treasure, they were completely absent. By the way, what are these 81 boundary stones for? Tianyang muttered to himself and waved his hand. He unleashed his primal chaos divine power in an attempt to sweep up all of the boundary steels. However, these boundary stones seemed to be nailed to the ground. Even though Tianyang's cultivation had reached the peak of the Emperor realm, he could not put them away. Tianyang was startled, then quickly reacted. Could it be that these boundary steels required demonic chi as energy? Primal chaos divine power was rejected by the devil world in the first place. These 81 boundary steels all contained a significant amount of primal devil chi. When all of them were fused together, the amount of primordial demon chi accumulated had already reached a terrifying level. If that's the case, let's use the chaotic force. Tianyang chuckled. Then, the surging chaotic energy erupted. Then, under the influence of the primeval demonic chi on the 81 boundary steels, it was quickly assimilated. Following it, wisps of powerful primordial demonic chi burst out from the ground. The 81 boundary steels were created by the ancestor fiend. The demonic chi contained within them was the highest grade of chaos demonic chi. Therefore, Tianyang had to use the primal chaos demonic chi to power it. Boom! With a loud bang, the boundless primeval demonic chi, under the influence of the primeval demonic chi transformed from Tianyang's chaotic force, began to erupt wildly. Then, it turned into a storm, including all of the boundary steels. The 81 boundary steels that Tianyang couldn't lift no matter how hard he tried, at this moment, automatically rose into the air. Then, all of the boundary steels that were originally identical changed into countless forms at this moment. Some turned into a column, some turned into a square, forming countless depressions that connected with each other. In the next moment, in the pitch-black primeval demonic chi storm, endless light burst out. Endless black light was released in the storm. Then, these existences completely merged into one. Strange demonic runes erupted one after another. The pitch-black demonic chi storm instantly converged. The 81 boundary steels at this moment also turned into a whole. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression changed slightly. This is the 81 boundary steels in front of him appeared after they merged. Impressively, it was the appearance of the heavenly demonic pillar. In the immortal imperial court's inheritance, there was naturally a lot of information about this heavenly demonic pillar that was greatly related to the demonic ancestor. Now, the God's supreme treasure formed by the 81 boundary steels was actually a miniature version of the heavenly demonic pillar. Could it be that these boundary steels are related to the heavenly demonic pillar? Although the heavenly demonic pillar had always existed in the center of the central demonic soil since ancient times, it was also regarded as the symbol of the demonic soil. It was also regarded as the symbol of the demonic world by countless demonic clans. It was mysterious and incomparably powerful. However, in the immortal imperial court's inheritance memories, there was still very little information about the heavenly demonic pillar. At most, it was a supreme treasure, such a vague description. However, now that Tianyang had the hints of heavenly King Hanshi, godly king of firmament, and undying heavenly lord, Tianyang could completely confirm it. That demonic ancestor was in the heavenly demonic pillar. However, these 81 boundary steels have merged into the original supreme treasure. And then what? Looking at the demonic pillar floating in the sky and emitting extremely powerful primordial demonic chi, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Could it be that I can use this boundary steels to restrict the heavenly demonic pillar? Even if I use it as a weapon, it probably won't be useful. Tianyang muttered to himself. At this moment, within the boundary steel's demonic pillar, rays of black demonic light suddenly bloomed. Boom! That ray of demonic light directly pierced through the chaotic energy and hit Tianyang between his eyebrows. At this moment, the heavenly sword, which had completely merged with the Song Emperor's sword and possessed all the power of the Song Emperor's sword, suddenly attacked. Boom! With a loud bang, the demonic light and the heavenly sword collided. Divine punishment, demon cleansing. Tianyang snorted coldly, and rays of demon cleansing power erupted from the heavenly sword. This ray of black demonic light clearly had the power to kill countless demon monarchs. However, it was still completely blocked by the upper-grade divine grade heavenly sword. After all, the current heavenly sword only lacked a sword soul. It was the supreme god sword from the primordial era. The supreme god sword had been tempered by the supreme god sword for an unknown period of time and smelted countless divine weapons before it was forged. Without a sword soul, it could easily crush an ordinary supreme treasure. Boom! That ray of demonic light was completely suppressed by Tianyang. At this moment, the chaotic energy in Tianyang's hand turned into primordial demonic chi and grabbed the boundary steel's demonic pillar. Instantly, on the boundary steel's demonic pillar, rays of black light flashed. Countless amounts of information flooded into Tianyang's mind. After being grabbed by Tianyang's primordial demonic chi, the boundary steel's demonic pillar calmed down. However, Tianyang could not calm down. His expression changed abruptly. This demon suppression ancient pillar is a demon ancestor's power limiter? End of chapter. Chapter 1790. The demon suppression ancient pillar was created by the demon ancestor during the primordial era. At that time, the demon ancestor was far from being as powerful as he was now. Countless ultimate gods trembled in fear at the mention of his name. However, the demon suppression ancient pillar created by him coincidentally absorbed a part of the primordial demonic chi. It was different from the primordial demonic chi cultivated by ordinary demons. This primordial demonic chi came from the origin of the demonic realm, which was the origin of the central demonic land in the primordial era. It was more powerful than the primordial demonic chi cultivated by any demon sovereign. Therefore, the demon suppression ancient pillar which was originally refined as a weapon, happened to have the power to suppress all demonic chi below the primordial demonic chi. This suppression power made it slightly inconvenient for the demon ancestor to use. Therefore, it was divided into 81 pieces and scattered at the edge of the central demonic land in the primordial era. It was used to guard the central demonic land. However, it was also because of this. After Tianyang gathered all the boundary steels and fused them together to form the demon-suppressing ancient pillar, it had the power to suppress all devils. When these boundary stones were still scattered, they showed some of their power. Otherwise, whether it was the 5 demon lords, Su Yin, or Yin Xian, they would not be so easy to deal with. The reason why the Blood Soul Curse was suppressed by the boundary stone was because of the primordial demonic chi from the demonic realm's origin. Otherwise, how could the Blood Soul Curse, which even sovereigns could not remove, be easily suppressed by the boundary stone? No wonder Heavenly King Hanshi hid the last boundary stone and did not let anyone take it away easily. Due to the boundary stone suppression effect on demonic chi, it had no other use except that it was a fragment of its sovereign supreme treasure. Only someone like Demon King Yanhai, who was crazy, would treasure the boundary stone and even want to decipher its mystery. However, Heavenly King Hanshi wanted to kill the demon ancestor. The boundary stone was so useful that it would not be easily obtained by others. I'm afraid Heavenly King Hanshi is planning something big. He even knew the power of the strange sovereign supreme treasure refined by the demon ancestor, and he also clearly knew its value. Could it be that Heavenly King Hanshi was also an old monster from the primordial era? I didn't expect you to even have the demon suppression ancient pillar. At this moment, a deep voice suddenly sounded. "Who's there?" Tianyang's expression changed. He was still in the array formation that he had set up earlier. Apart from him, there wasn't even an ant within 100 miles of this place. Godly King of Firmament. Then Tianyang abruptly recalled something. Wasn't this deep voice unique to the immortal King of Firmament? Although Heavenly King Hanshi's motives aren't pure, his desire to kill the demon ancestor is genuine. No wonder he would give you this demon-suppressing ancient pillar. With your current strength, you won't be a match for the demon ancestor even if you break through to the Imperial Emperor realm. Thus, I stayed in the Tsang Heavenly Emperor Sword and gave you power when you fought against the demonic ancestor. Even so, it's hard to guarantee success. However, with this demon-suppressing ancient pillar, our chances of success are much higher. The godly King of Firmament said, although his tone did not change much. However, he still showed the excitement in his heart. However, with your current strength, it's still dangerous for you to go to the Heavenly Demon Pillar. It's better for you to increase your strength before looking for the demon ancestor. The godly King of Firmament said. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded. Although he had not seen the godly King of Firmament's strength, he was definitely on par with the immortal Heavenly Master. The immortal Heavenly Master was an unparalleled overlord in the Archean era. Perhaps the demon ancestor only had such strength. However, the godly King of Firmament's body was not here. Even if he had the strength to fight against the demon ancestor, it wouldn't last long. Tianyang's own strength was the right way to go. Then, the next step is to continue expanding the small world. When Tianyang broke through to the late God Realm from the peak of God Realm initial stage, his small world jumped for 100,000 miles to 200,000 miles. Now, he had officially become an Imperial Emperor. His small world would definitely expand. The chaotic god was released. Tianyang's eyes shone. In the next moment, the chaotic small world opened. This is the aura of the demon suppression ancient pillar merging into one again. Heavenly King Hanshi muttered to himself in the main hall of the Heavenly King Palace. There was a flash of light in his dark eyes. That person probably doesn't know that once the demon suppression ancient pillar merges into one, no matter who it is, they will become the demon realm's greatest enemy. This is even more vicious than the blood soul curse created by the hundred-eyed emperor. Even the godly King of Firmament and Heavenly King Hanshi knew about the power of the demon suppression ancient pillar created by the demon ancestor. How could the demon ancestor not know about the threat this treasure posed to him? Splitting it up was only one of the reasons. The other reason was to hunt down the demon suppression ancient pillar after it reappeared in the world. If the demon suppression ancient pillar had not absorbed the primordial demonic chi of the demon realm's origin, it would have become one with the demon realm's origin and could not be damaged. The demon ancestor would have destroyed it the moment he created it. Even the strongest demon emperor, Su Yin, is dead. No one under him is qualified to know about this. It seems like the hundred-eyed emperor is the one who did it. Heavenly King Hanshi muttered. However, he did not feel burdened at all. As a member of the demon race, he naturally would not let a human from the divine world take advantage of him. Since that was the case, why would he need to inform Tianyang about this matter? After all, he was a member of the demon race. He was different from the godly king of firmament who wanted to save the world. He did not know how the catastrophe of the era was going to be resolved, nor did he want to know. All he wanted was to kill the demon ancestor and take over his position. He did not care about the life and death of a human from the divine world. Well then, you're on your own. Heavenly King Hanshi smiled and closed his eyes. Central Demon Land, Heavenly Demon Pillar. Even though there was a prosperous city around the Heavenly Demon Pillar, not many people dared to get close to the Heavenly Demon Pillar. This was because this was the symbol of the demon ancestor. Not only was it disrespectful to the demon ancestor, but it was also disrespectful to the entire demon race. At this moment, an elder was standing beside the Heavenly Demon Pillar. Looking up at the seemingly endless height, it was more than enough to reach the heavens, and it could even traverse the demon world. Lord Demon Ancestor, today, someone has challenged your authority again. The white-haired elder said slowly, his eyes flashing with killing intent. The 81 boundary stones have merged again. The demon suppression ancient pillar has reappeared. Hundred-eyed Emperor said coldly. The surrounding air seemed to have frozen because of this. Endless demonic soul energy seemed to have shrouded the entire central demon land. All of a sudden, countless demons in the surrounding cities trembled as if they were being spied on. This was the power of the demonic soul energy, the strength of Hundred Eyes Emperor, who dared to claim to be the strongest in the divine world. Found it. Just an emperor? Hundred Eyes Emperor closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them again. I'm afraid it's the human from the divine world who survived the blood soul curse for 2 months. Humph, to be able to escape the blood soul curse, consider yourself sparing his life. Now, I can only say that you have a death wish. In the next moment, Hundred Eyes Emperor's figure suddenly disappeared. End of chapter.